And then he showed up a couple of weeks later. Everything back then was very fast. In other words, 2 weeks would be like 6 months in today's calculation of time. So then after that, I was up there in Seattle. We finished up in Seattle. I came back to Los Angeles, to San Francisco, and I helped open a temple in Berkeley, etc. Then I came to Los Angeles. So it's hard. So it was so turbocharged. Every minute had so many things happening in it. You know what I mean?
You miss that energy. You miss that steadfastness, I'm sure.
Well, quite frankly, I miss it to the degree that I'd like to regenerate it with our organization here, the League for 10,000 Years of a Golden Age of Kali. Because what I wanted to talk about last night, and you weren't with us, so you didn't miss what I missed, which was we didn't get to do it. What I was interested in doing is saying, whatever you have learned, read, and understood about Krishna consciousness, you've got a conclusion out of it. You say, I read this, I heard about it, I went into a temple, I read books, whatever my entry is into the world of Lord Chaitanya's mission finalized by Srila Prabhupada, as soon as I say that, there's a step which needs to be taken, which has never yet been taken. And that is, what am I going to do about it? How am I going to make this happen? Everybody likes to talk about Krishna, everybody likes to associate with devotees. And of course, that's the way we ought to ordinarily and always be. But having said that, we need to go one more step. The host disabled my video.
Yeah, you're shaking the video, so it's better that you're not on video, because when the person speaks online, it's shaking. You know.
Oh, well, let me go get myself situated properly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good, Nana. You can still keep talking. So.
Okay. So
what is your agenda for the group you've started?
For this one?
For 10,000 years, yeah?
My agenda is that each and every person not look as though it's a group they're joining, or even though it sort of is, because we're individuals and we can join the group. But what I want to see occur is that each person acts and starts from his own platform of realization. How am I going to make this Krishna consciousness movement? What shape and form does this Krishna consciousness need to be in for the next 10,000 years, so that we can deliver each and every living being on planet Earth between now and then? Can you put the video back on?
Okay, Narayan Prabhu, 1 second. Let me ask you to start the video again. You ready? Okay, let me go.
Sure.
All right. Narayan Prabhu. Okay, ready for you. You can start your video. Oh, there you go.
Okay, here we are. Yeah. Okay. So, excuse me 1 second. So
No problem.
The real situation. The real situation is each and every one of us understands that Krishna is the source of life, the all-attractive source of life.
No, no, Prabhu, we cannot hear you. Your audio just went away.
I think all of our audio just went away. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Prabhu, we
No.
can't hear you.
No, no, Prabhu, we cannot hear you. Your audio went away. I think you're having the same problem you had yesterday. Yeah,
Maybe
he's
he
having the
can't
same.
hear us. Yeah.
Yeah, he cannot hear us. I don't know what happened. His microphone just disappeared from the. Let me call him. Let me
Right.
call him. I'll have to call him. 1 second.
Yeah, sure, please.
Let's see.
Mark, Prabhu?
Did you say Mahaprabhu?
Yes, Mahaprabhu. I
Hare
called you
Krishna.
Mark. I didn't know your name is Mahaprabhu. Sorry.
It's actually
I was
Marco.
okay. Just wanted to know how come. Can you tell me about your association with ISKCON? Like, how did you get into ISKCON and this group especially?
When I was maybe 8, 9, 10 years old, I would see the Hare Krishna chant in Westwood Boulevard, California.
Okay.
And I was always intrigued.
Okay, he's back.
Okay. Yeah. In university, I met a lot of Krishna conscious individuals and never followed. I wanted to become a Catholic priest at one point. But through my association with Narayan, he sort of brought me back to the Krishna world. And here I am. I'm a novice. I don't know as much as the group knows, but little by little I'm learning and I'm very interested.
I think you know a lot. Krishna consciousness can be accomplished in 1 second, a split second. Why? Because it's simply a transfer of identity from our body to who we are as an eternal part and parcel of God. Christianity and all the Abrahamic religions have not yet been able to cross that bridge. They talk about salvation, but even when they talk about salvation, they don't make a convincing argument that you're reunited with God. It's sort of like you die and go to heaven, but heaven, from the calculations that I got from Srila Prabhupada, is actually still in this universe. It's a very high planet in this universe, but in this universe nonetheless. So our goal is to, once we understand I am spirit soul, aham brahmasmi, I am not this body, I am spirit soul, then I'm free to act. And the League for 10,000 Years is basically, I would like to see it as people taking what knowledge they have, whether it's a few minutes of contact with Krishna and you have your aha moment, oh yes, I get it, Krishna's coming, or years and years and years of acting or living in a temple or doing all the things, being raised amongst people that believe to Krishna's God. All of these factors are factors. What I'm looking for is action. And when I say action, I don't mean that we're going to get off our chairs and go and do something. I mean, action means creating in the ether the structure for the next 10,000 years. I'd like to see us create the structure that it takes to deliver each and every soul on planet Earth.
Hare Krishna.
And that, believe it or not, will give us a lot more fun than thinking everyone else can go to hell. I want to go to Krishna Loka. I want to be with Krishna. I don't care about anybody else, just me. How far do you think that really would get with getting back to Krishna Loka? Krishna's not like that. Why should we be like that? I don't care about anyone but me. If I chant my rounds, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, then I'll go back to Godhead. Yes, yes, yes. And then what? Just completely ignore the rest of humanity when we have been given this gift of the holy name by Lord Chaitanya a mere 500 something thousand years ago, 500 something 100 years ago.
It's all about spreading the word.
Yes, and it's also about if I have good fortune, what stands in my way of wanting that same good fortune for others? And if I want good fortune for others, what stands in my way of wanting that good fortune for all others, not just some others? What can I do so that everyone wakes up to who they are and joins our conversation in such a way that action leads to more action, and leads to action, leads to action, and action leads to action? And that's it. Not that it's just a bunch of chit chat while we're waiting to be scooped up and taken back to Godhead. It's not the way it works. The Kanista Adhikari works hard to become a devotee, and that's wonderful. ISKCON has created temples which are essentially Kanista Adhikari temples. That's wonderful. They've made some mistakes that are pretty huge from the structural point of view of ISKCON, and that's not good. But then again, what do you expect from people that were drug addicts 20, 30, 40 years ago? I mean, it's amazing that they've come as far as they have, that we've come as far as we have. Now it's a time for us to create a greatness for everyone. Does that make sense?
That's the servant within us.
Yes. Yes.
Exactly. If we take the view that I am servant, by the way, is Banu on or not on yet?
Banu's not on yet. He's not on yet.
Is he getting on, coming on or not?
I have no idea.
Oh.
Everyone got the link, so let's see if he joins or not.
Is that Brenda Devi?
Yeah, that's my daughter.
That's wonderful. Brenda, what a wonderful name. So what I was looking for, I wanted to deal with that last night also, is let's think in terms of, this is in Istagosti, as we went over in some time ago. Istagosti is a time when you can express your views, express your feelings, express your doubts, express your anxieties, express your realizations. And in that context, you're bouncing your realization off of others. Every time I listen to all of you, I become inspired in ways I could never have become without this association. So that's what I'm looking for, because we need to put our heads together and create the next 10,000 years as a blueprint. Obviously, we're not going to live them all right now in the next 10 minutes. It takes 10,000 years to live 10,000 years. But what we can do is set out a schematic, a plan, by which we can see what are the ingredients that we need to create this pathway for not just a few of us or those who want to be devotees. What about all those that don't want to be devotees? How do we get them on board to want to be devotees? So the first thing that I'm trying to, the first thing is we need to work out our website and make it so clear that anyone, the ISKCON Kanista initiators and everyone, can look at it and they will not be able to defy it or find some fault with it. That's our first thing. Website, Facebook page. And that's what we're churning over now, getting the right things in place. One of the very first things that needs to be done is a plan to do World Sankirtan. In today's day and age, I was talking about that last night, wasn't I? In this day and age, if you get 100,000 people chanting and everyone has a cell phone, after one evening, practically everybody on planet Earth will have heard the kirtan. And the key secret to the kirtan is it's not one big shot on the stage, one big Swami on the stage, but it is each person in that audience of 100,000 taking turns leading the kirtan.
So we got some devotees coming on. We have, let's see, Matthew Prabhu from, I think, Texas there. Amir Ghosh Prabhu is on. So if they have any questions, they can ask.
Jai.
Let's get things going.
Hare
Krishna.
Haribol, Amir Ghosh, Haribol. I can tell when you're photographed, I can tell when you're not. Now you're not your photograph. Yes. You were listening last night. I was yearning that you were there. I thought you weren't there. So I was yearning that you be there, but you were there. So what can I say?
Hare Krishna, amigo.
Hare Krishna, bro.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Haribol, Haribol, and how are you?
Haribol.
Excellent.
All right.
We had a wonderful
yes.
Gaur Purnima here.
Oh,
Fantastic. It was a wonderful discussion last night.
Yes, and we're talking about how can we use what realization we have and what information is at our fingertips, at our disposal, that we've learned or about to learn or can come up with in our own brains to create the next 10,000 years of Golden Age of Kali, being a process by which each and every living entity can hear the holy name of Krishna at least once. And that begins with, of course, the idea or the reality that Lord Chaitanya, being Krishna himself, the holy name as uttered by him a mere 500 years ago, is still echoing through the ether in his pure form. The holy name is Krishna. If we think I'm going to chant Hare Krishna to find Krishna, that's not reality. I'm going to chant Hare Krishna because Krishna is the objective that I'm trying to find, and the holy name is Krishna. Therefore, when I chant Hare Krishna, that is being Krishna conscious. But as the covering wears off of our heart and our mind, that's what the Kinestadikari platform is for, is to gradually erode materialism from the body and to purify the body, purify the mind, purify everything to get up to the platform where you say, I can't stand to be without Krishna anymore. I want to be in Krishna's association. And by doing that, you enter into the Madhyamadikari platform. And as always, Lord Paramatma, who helps us in our everyday foolish activities, because we want them, I can't emphasize enough, the reason why Paramatma empowers us to do stupid, crazy, and even illegal, immoral, and horrible things, besides good things. The reason he does that is because we're part and parcel of Krishna. And Krishna has directly manifested himself as Paramatma so that he is never left saying, I want, but I can't have. If you're in the material body of a wino, of an alcoholic, I want wine. Well, how are you going to get it unless Krishna, as Paramatma, helps you find it? Now, is that good? No. Is that what Krishna wants for you? No. So why does he let you do that? Because you want to. And you wanting to is his wanting in minute form. Our desires, whatever they are the desires of part and parcel of Krishna. All we can say, no, I look in the mirror, that's me, that's my body, that body there, yeah, that's me. I'm not a soul, I have a soul, and whatever. I can say that it doesn't change anything. Because Prabhupada said consciousness is the indicator of the soul. Consciousness. Now, we know that people, at least in the 70s, I think, were practicing playing different types of music for plants. And the plants liked some music better than others. They didn't like heavy metal very much, but Mozart, they liked. So the plants are conscious. Therefore, they are a soul, the soul. The plant is. So if we say that, then we say, well, we can't go through the day without squashing living beings, stepping on the grass and squashing the grass and bugs. And then the Jains have a little broom. You've seen, the Jains have a broom and a mask because they don't want to kill anything. Of course, they never let the broom touch the ground. It's symbolic. But their symbolism is, we have to sweep the living beings so I don't, out of the way, so I don't step on the bugs. Because they know that the bug is part and parcel of God, just like you and me. There's no difference between a bug and me. Don't say anything. There's no difference between a bug and me, except the body. The soul is the same, but the body is different. So demigod, how about between a snail and Lord Indra? What is the main difference between a snail and Lord Indra? You could say consciousness, and consciousness is definitely much higher in Lord Indra than in the snail. But the decisive similarity is that they are both spirit soul. And the decisive dissimilarity is that Indra has a very fantastical body as the king of heaven, and the snail doesn't. Snail has a little snail body. But what does that mean spiritually? Exactly nothing. Exactly zero. Why does it matter the snail is a snail body and I have a human body and you do, and Indra has a demigod body? What difference does it make? It doesn't make difference. The difference is simply is that Ramachandra? Okay. The differences in the body simply means which body is better for becoming Krishna conscious. A snail body is not good for becoming Krishna conscious unless you're out chanting with Mridanga, Kartals, and Prabhupada's own melodies. And you chant, and the snail gets hit. I don't think snails have really good ears, but his body absorbs sound because sound is a vibration. And snails of all creatures have soft little bodies when they're out of their shell and extended out of their shell. And that if they get touched by the holy name of Krishna, they'll go back to Godhead. Oh, immediately? No. They will go back to Godhead eventually. But that's not true of everybody else. People are not going back to Godhead eventually. As far as the universe is concerned, remember, at the time Mahavishnu expands bubbles out of his body, innumerable bodies, not bubbles, which means innumerable universes, with a Brahma in each universe. Some with one head, some with four heads like ours, and some with countless heads, because it's a huge universe. When we understand that, and that takes science and throws it on its ear, because they're trying to figure out whether the universe is expanding or contracting, or if there was a big bang. They're never going to find out like that. First, let them understand that there's more universes than anyone could possibly count, because they are coming out of the eyes, mouth, ears, and pores of Mahavishnu. And each bubble is as, some are smaller, no doubt. Yeah, some are smaller than this universe, but others, like bubbles, others are vastly bigger than this universe. And we are so concerned about trying to figure out the universe, the Big Bang. No, they're not going to find anything like a Big Bang, because if you read the Brahma Samhita, it's very clearly stated what happens. Chintamani Parakarasad Mansur Kalpa Vriksha Lakshavrateshu Suradi Abhiyabhadyantam Lakshmi Sahasrat Satasam Brahman Sevamanam Govindamari Purusham Kamaham Bhajami. That's what you discover if you're the Brahma in this universe. You saw vision, or opened the mystical vision by hearing Gayatri sound of Krishna's flute. The Krishna Loka, what it was like. So anyhow, for us, I am asking with straw in mouth, meaning begging, kusagra, straw. I am asking, please, let's all join together and utilize what we know right now of Krishna consciousness. Not say, I'm going to go to my deathbed and then I'm going to go to heaven. It doesn't work like that. You know, and somehow the British managed to make Indian people think that it works like that. But it doesn't. We, at the time of death, should be thinking, how many jivas can I bring with me? I have this recurring little mental episode or fantasy or whatever, that I do everything right. I avoid non-devotees. I chant Hare Krishna. I take only prasadam. I observe all the Ekadasis, all the festivals. Everything's perfectly observed by me. I don't talk to anybody because I don't want to be contaminated. I just want to purify my mind and my body by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Ram. That's what I want. And I do that and I succeed. I become pure, let's say. This is a fantasy. It's not the way it really works. And I go back to Krishna Loka and I'm up there and I see the lotus flower and I reach out to open the lotus petals so I can go in. But the lotus petals open up a bit by themselves, being jivas also. And there I see Krishna, and more importantly, Krishna sees me. And I said, oh, I'm so glad to see you, Krishna says. And I said, I'm so glad to see you. After all this eons, may I come in? He's about to say yes when he takes a sharp look over my shoulder and says, wait, where are all the others? What others? I avoided them. I didn't want to. I just wanted to go back to Godhead. I didn't give a rat's you know what for the others. I just wanted to go back to Godhead. What else? I avoided the others. I just kept myself completely separated and pure so I could come back to Godhead. And here I am. And he said, you don't get the idea, did you? I sent you down there to bring back millions, chant, and bring back millions and millions and millions of people. I expected that when you came back, you'd be followed by an ocean, a flood, a tsunami of souls, all chanting on their beads, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
And I said, oh, what does that mean? Krishna says, well, it means that's what I want you to do. I'll send you back down, but I'll give you a better body this time for chanting. But this time, come back with everybody who you can reach. through sound vibration of the holy name.
No selfishness.
Zero. Well, I mean, anyone can be as selfish as they want. That's how we got to the material world in the beginning. In Krishna Loka, nobody's selfish. Everybody is adoring Krishna, worshiping Krishna, serving each other and serving Krishna. It's just a heavenly encounter. More than heavenly, is just heavenly in this universe. This is a transcendental encounter.
Not transformation.
So selfishness does not exist. If we think on planet Earth where selfishness is king, the terrible twos turn into the terrible 80s. When we want to dominate and become richer and dominate others because we think we're entitled to, and then we want to go to Krishna Loka, no qualification at all, zero. Doesn't matter how much money you gave to the temple or the church. Doesn't matter any of these things. Doesn't matter if you even led a good, clean life. What matters is you didn't care about others. Now, it doesn't come naturally in the material world to care about others. Every man for himself. But that's not how you get back to Krishna Loka. You can only get back to Krishna Loka by bringing others back, sending others back to Krishna Loka, making it possible for others to go back to Krishna Loka. And Prabhupada, I told that story some time before, but how a Vaishnava doesn't want, we're in Bombay in 1974, I think. A Vaishnava doesn't want this, a Vaishnava doesn't want that. And he kept on talking like that, and the householders got uncomfortable very quickly because what a Vaishnava doesn't want are things that householders think they're sort of entitled to, okay? Then he kept on going, a Vaishnava doesn't want this, a Vaishnava doesn't want that. And he kept going and told the brahmacharis who had been smirking at the householders began to sweat bullets because they began to realize all the things they think that a brahmachari is entitled to, that they're not entitled to it. You cannot have. But the sannyasis were still grinning. So Prabhupada said, if Vaishnava doesn't want this, or Vaishnava doesn't want that. It was very elaborate. He went into great detail as to what they don't want. And I can't remember a bit of it. I just hope there's a recording somewhere. And the sannyasis their eyes began to bulge out. They thought they were safe. Trinanda, renounced. They thought it was okay. Vaishnava doesn't want this, doesn't want that. So we all just were thunderstruck. And Prabhupada sat up straight like a lion looking over a bunch of deer that he just slaughtered, And we were there and we were dumbfounded because Prabhupada had taken everything away, including all the things we thought we could have as a concession from Krishna while we were sannyasi or a householder or brahmachari. We thought we took it for granted. Then we all sat there and nobody looked at each other. We couldn't see. We were just practically blinded by Prabhupada's nyate, not this, not that, That's in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the processes. Nyate. No. You look at everything. Not that, not that, not that, not that, not that. Hoping that in the end, the one thing you haven't said not that to is Krishna. But there's easier. Chanting Hare Krishna is easier. You get Krishna right with the first breath. So anyhow, what happened? We're all sitting there staring straight ahead, and so we've been clubbed over the head by Parsuram, which is what it felt like. Then suddenly, gradually, we had a tidal swell in each and every one of our hearts. There's probably 30 of us in the room. Tidal wave coming up in our hearts. Of course, we thought. A devotee doesn't want this, a devotee doesn't want that, because All the devotee wants is Krishna. We sat up, began to breathe again. We're turning blue. We began to breathe again. Yes, the devotee wants Krishna. We looked at Prabhupada with big self-realized smiles on our faces. Yep, that can't be the wrong answer. Then Prabhupada sat straight up, like Parsuram, or a deer, a tiger or lion who sees one more deer in the room and just realized he hadn't killed them all. And Prabhupada cried out, and the devotee does not even want Krishna. Have you heard that before?
That sounds like the essence of what Krishna says. That he who claims to be my devotee is not my devotee, but he who claims to be the devotee of my devotee, that is my devotee.
You hit the nail almost, just okay, I'll say you hit the nail on the head. But you got close. I mean, it's true. What you said is absolutely true. But Prabhupada said, a devotee doesn't even want Krishna. Then he looked at us. His eyes were huge, and he swept the room with his huge eyes and said, a devotee is saying, who am I to associate with Krishna? Let him play with gopis and let me stay here and serve him. That's sort of like what you were saying.
Hare Krishna.
Who am I to associate with Krishna? Let him play with gopis and let me stay here and serve him. Practically, I think that phrase could be the motto of the League for 10,000 Years.
Make me dance.
Yeah. Now, for anybody who says, I don't want to do that, I don't give a rat's you know what about anybody else but me, I want to go back to Godhead at the end of this lifetime and don't try to talk me out of it. Okay.
Selfish.
So how are you going to do it? And I would go even more closely to the bone, the marrow of the bone. And is it even possible that with that mentality that you could go back to Godhead? What would you do? Go there saying the same sort of crap to the people in Krishna Loka? You won't get through the lotus flower. You won't get in if you say things like that or think things, feel it, even for a second. That's how we got in the material world. For one split second, we wondered what it would be like to be worshipped instead of to worship. Here we are. Hundreds of millions of lives. Here we are. How wonderful. Now we want to go back to Godhead. It's a process, but we can't use our material greed to take us back to Godhead. We can't use our hard-headedness to take us back to Godhead.
I think this is where we need to bring focus if we are going to try and get more people involved, Prabhuji, because it's the material world problems that everybody's going in and out. It's a vicious circle to think out of the material world, especially when it comes to money matters. So how would you tackle, questions related to money? I don't have a job, I have debts. When people come with such questions, they're not able to think of anything but just get money.
Well, Srila Prabhupada said in a completely different context, there's three types of men: the rich, the medium people, middle class, and the poor. The rich man is saying, oh yes, that sounds nice. I could build a big temple for you maybe someday. I think that's a great thing you're doing. What about, do you want to take it up and practice? Oh, maybe someday I will, but right now I have too many big responsibilities because I'm a big, big man with big, big money. And so he doesn't become a devotee, or if he becomes a devotee, very superficially. Then there's the very poor man. He's so desperate. He says, bakshish, I need something. I'm starving. I need to eat. Please give me something. He can't concentrate on Krishna because he's so miserably desperate and needy. So Prabhupada said our target is the people in the middle that are not so rich that they can't understand, that their mind doesn't work. It's not so poor that their mind doesn't work. They have that luxury of sufficient, whether he's a working man or a middle-class person, a merchant, or whatever he might be, farmer, whatever he is, he has a little space to chant Hare Krishna. But of course, if we chant Hare Krishna around the rich man, he will eventually go back to Godhead when he's exhausted all his riches in future lives. And then this one, and the very poor man, if he hears chanting, he may say, I'd rather have had 5 rupees than to pay chant to that. But if he hears the Maha Mantra the way we chant, he will go back to Godhead eventually. And he will not be a poor man in this next life. He'll be a man with enough to eat. So that's the process. But in terms of our own group, and what is it for the next 10? In case you weren't asking that question, maybe you're asking, how will people sustain themselves in the next 10,000 years? No, it's actually 9,400 years or something like that. But how will they sustain themselves during in the golden age of Kali? How will they live? And the answer is very simple. We are open, once we have World Sankirtan thundering out of every cell phone on earth, when people are broadcasting it to each other, there's live streaming, I mean, the whole works. You know what I'm talking about. It's being created in India. How can you not know what it's all about? So yes, that will happen. But how you make a living? Dive of an ashram. Either you have a good job, you're a doctor or lawyer, and you can keep on working. But if you want to give everything up and surrender completely to Krishna, dive of an ashram. Take all the people that are suffering. Prabhupada referred in New Vrindavan, you've got so many unhappy men here in New Vrindavan, which was quite true at the time. Still true, I think. And he said, go and bring more unhappy men so that they will become happy by practicing Krishna consciousness, he said. So what can we do? Dive of an ashram means we need Brahmins to worship the deity, build a big temple with Jagannath say in it. Lord Jagannath, because Lord Jagannath is used to this sort of thing of managing lots of farmers, overseeing them. And then the next step down is Kshatriyas. In a small community, say of 2,000 people, you don't need very many Kshatriyas. You just need to guard the borders, because a lot of what we're talking about will happen after the collapse of the global economy. So when the global economy collapses, as President Biden seems to be hell-bent for leather to accomplish, but not in Texas, but when the global economy is disturbed to a great degree, there won't be any money to give people unemployment insurance. People will become crazier and crazier. Okay, so we have these communities. We can make as many communities as people want to participate. So 10,000 acres of land with water on it, 2,000 people living there, 3,000, maybe 4,000. You get desi cows, meaning Indian humpback cows, who produce oxides of copper and gold, which vitalize the earth. The cow dung from these cows is not a pollutant such as the dairy farms produce of the inhuman and horrible conditions and the hideous diet that they feed milk cows and also beef cows. So all of the toxicity coming out of the manure, which has led the vegan movement, will be quite the opposite. It'll be nutritious for the soil. Plus, extra cow patties, you can dry them on the wall the way they do in India and use them for cooking. Can you imagine the wonderful fragrance of a desi cow patty cooking a chapati? As Prabhupada said, his idea was happiest was in a kitchen smeared with cow dung and mud on the walls, and they do it frequently. In other words, you don't just do it once and leave it there for years. You put it on, every few days, every few weeks, like that. You cover up the walls with fresh cow dung, so it has this minty fragrance permeating the kitchen area. And then you have a fire where you're cooking with cow dung and you're making chapatis. You have fresh ghee
in the house.
from your own cows.
Nice.
And
2008.
yeah.
Your
And
t-shirt.
so Prabhupada said that his happiest moment ever was
So,
eating such chapatis in such a kitchen cooked over cow dung. So
okay.
that's what you can do. Now,
Get crazy.
just a second, something's happening in the kitchen. I've got to go. I'll be right back, okay?
Sorry, come down, come on.
Hey.
You getting aggressive again, the world?
That was a nice lunch we had over there by the ocean.
So, Dharma Ashram means that you'll have Brahmins who will do all the cooking for 2,000 people, even 6,000 people. The Brahmins can cook for everyone. Do you know why? Because in Jagannath Puri, they can cook for 50,000, can show up unannounced, sit down in the temple, and they will be fed prasadam without any prior warning. That's how opulent it is at Jagannath Puri in terms of prasadam. So nobody will need to even cook at home. They can cook whatever they like at home, snacks or something, but basically they'll take their main meals at the temple. And why not?
Mahaprasad ki jai.
Yes. And that way they don't have to, and they won't need money. So if you have all of those people living, so where will they get their food? At the temple. Where will they get their milk? From the temple. And ghee, yes, also from the temple. The Vaishyas, the cow keepers, known as Vaishyas, they will take care of the milking of the cows and the making of the ghee. And the Shudras, what will they do? They will help everybody. Human society is always based like on a shape of a pyramid. It's not artificial, it's not forced, it's just natural. What the Vedic culture does is you divide people according to their ability. So if someone has the ability to breed cows, he can be called a Vaishya. If he has only the capacity to milk cows, he can be called a Shudra. Or if he plows the ground, Shudra. Threshes the wheat, Shudra. Hybridizes the wheat, Vaishya. And if there's threat from outside, because once you have all those cows in a post-apocalyptic situation, there'll be plenty of people that want to come in and kill them and eat them. So you have guards, armed guards, kshatriyas. With a few people, you don't need much in the way of police, because essentially, if people want to be members, then they have to play by the rules. If they don't play by the rules, worse than putting them in jail or chopping their heads off would be to tell them to leave. Here they have everything they could possibly want for themselves and their children and their wives and their cousins and whatnot forever, for generation after generation. If they screw it up, now you have to leave. No, I don't want to leave. Well, you had 12 chances and you blew them all. Goodbye. Go out there and become a marauder on a motorcycle with a crossbow or whatever they'll have. Or a horse with a BB gun. So that's the idea. So Shreya Prabhu, does that help your question at all? Self-sufficiency. Just like I'm looking for self-sufficiency in our group, we want self-sufficiency in human society as well, for those who are willing to live by the four regulated principles and worship Prabhupada and enjoy life beyond anything anyone can imagine. No commuting in cars, no smog, just ox carts. And we don't own the cows. That's the secret. The cows own us. You know, it says in the Vedas that you have 7 mothers. One of the mothers is your birth mother, but another mother is the cow. Mm-hmm. Now, you're not going to tell your mother, oh, I'm going to tie you up by a rope to your neck and I'm going to milk you, mother, and I'm going to sell your milk to some women that can't lactate. You're not going to do that. That's not what you'll do with your birth mother. So why should you do it with the other mother, the cow? We don't milk the cows just to get money from selling the milk or making ghee and selling the ghee. No. This stuff is, the mother is feeding her children. If the cow is a mother, then we're her children. If we're the children of the cow, then we treat the cow with the same level of respect as we would treat our birth mother. And just like our birth mother treated with respect, everything she does, women by nature, mothers by nature, their love, their energy, their consciousness, everything about a woman flows if she's in the right place at the right time and not being cheated, exploited, restricted, tortured, or whatever happens to women all over the place. But in this case, the woman is sacred also, the wife, or the mother, or the grandmother, or the daughter, sacred. So in this situation of sacred mothers, the cow is the mother that feeds us adults milk and ghee. And believe it or not, cows are not stupid. They may seem not very bright in the West or anywhere they're not being treated like a mother because they're refugees. And most of them know they're heading straight only to death. They feel it, but that doesn't stop them from chewing the grass and lactating and being milked and stuff from the farmer. But in their hearts, they know they're headed towards death. And the real question is, why are they headed towards death? Because they were cheating cows in a previous life. They were slaughtering them and eating them. Now they become a cow to be slaughtered. But this can be changed, transformed by specializing in non-slaughterable AC cows and creating an atmosphere that is sacred and loving. And guess what? Each member, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, each one is an initiated devotee, just like a member of ISKCON. In fact, anyone in this Daivavan ashram will be a member of ISKCON, but not like a temple where you have only brahmacharyas and whatnot mostly, and people going there in an urban situation. These temple members will be living the life out in the land, and be proving that Krishna's mercy is greater than anything anyone could possibly imagine. Sorry, Dad, I talked a bunch again. I don't like talking. I don't want to talk. I want everyone else to talk. But look at me, I keep talking.
I saw
I get carried away with visions. Yes, you're saying?
I saw a really quote from Srila Prabhupada about eco villages, and that well, I apologize if I can't remember the whole quote, but it basically goes like that. That basically what you were saying, that human and animal are meant to function as a society, that and all life just supposed to work together, and so it's like, that he's wanting eco villages like that.
Yeah, interrelated. Why not? Why should I consider myself superior to a cow? Even in Nivernam and Gitanagri, all these places, what they were was cattle ranchers that didn't slaughter the cows usually. That's all. It didn't come close to what Prabhupada wanted. But it touched on it, but it didn't get close enough. No prize. Nice try, no cigar. That's what it boils down to. They didn't get to. They turned Vrindavan was just manufacturing milk products and selling them. Or they were manufacturing brahmacharis and selling them on Sankirtan. So, I mean, what can I say? That's not where we're going.
Yeah, one time we were fortunate. Bhakti Prabhupada Vrata Damodar Swami Maharaj came, and he told us this pastime that, like, he had a bunch of Lakshmi, and he made this huge donation on the premise that there would be an eco village provided for it. That he would be funding this eco village, but then they turned around and just paid the light bill with it. And I mean, he just.
Where was that?
New York, I believe.
Yeah.
It just reminds. I mean, you were talking about that, and it really reminded me of that. That, like,
Yes. I agree with you.
Right. Do it.
Yeah. So the thing is, we can't do it just with money.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling, like, say, what I've heard from Chidananda Prabhu in Mauritius, if you go there, the government will give you land and money to create such a venture. But even so, yes? Yes, okay. So even so, at some point, the land will be empty and no one will be able to drive you off of it with an AK-47 rifle. Why? Because they'll have more important things to do. Instead of keeping you off the land, they're going to try to feed their families. What about the FBI? What about the Secret Service? What about the National Guard? What about the Army? At some point, they're going to have to struggle to feed themselves and their families. And if we go out and take 10,000 acres and develop it, what can they do? Won't turn into Ruby Ridge. It'll be a much different situation. I like to call it post-apocalyptic. Meaning after the other shoe drops economically in the world. And I think that if we do that, even if the United States got taken over by China, for instance, which is looking as though it might, if that were the case, I think we could create these communities in such a way that the Chinese would like them. Because the whole question is, how do you feed the people? And here's a way of feeding the people. Who knows? I always thought that China could be a perfect Krishna conscious country because they have this very tight organization. All you have to do is have the leaders tell everyone at the factories and the farms and everywhere to chant Hare Krishna, have kirtan for an hour every morning. And suddenly you have a Krishna conscious nation. And that would unify them, which is what they are always struggling to attain. You can unify people materially to a surprising degree. If you keep on making sure everyone gets what they need to live, you got them. But at some point, you need more than that. To create a sense of identity, you have to be able to chant Hare Krishna. Anyhow, so now what's next?
So what is next? Anyway, we got a lot of devotees here. So if they have any questions. So you were talking about global scale. Why not work on a little scale? Narayan Prabhu? Why not work where you are at, where I am at? So you have a very big vision, but you're 78 years old. I mean,
77, I beg your pardon.
So yeah, 77. So another 20 more years.
No, Ramachandra Prabhu, the whole point of what we're doing, I thought, is we create the blueprint.
So you should have said that.
I'm not going to do this in the whole world. It will take decades.
Talking about the blueprint,
decades.
okay.
But if we write out the blueprint, how about create books on how to do a real cow protection program? Meaning, how do you do a real Ashram program?
No, but that's theory, though.
What I'd like to do in my lifetime is World Sankirtan.
Yes, in your lifetime. Yes.
In my lifetime, another 5 or 10 years, I'd like to do World Sankirtan.
Acha.
And Prabhupada basically asked me to do that. Literally.
Yes.
You know how he asked me, right?
Yes, if you chant, why not the whole world?
Yeah, we were on a morning walk in Juhu on the beach. At that time, a very beautiful beach, not anymore. And we came to a little bit when we come up to the road above, and the beach sort of erodes, and there's boulders there to keep it from eroding the road. And we're down there, and I said to Srila Prabhupada, because you've been talking about the 10,000 years of golden age of Kali, I said, considering that this is all predicted in Shastra, it sounds as if this will happen anyhow, that 10% of the population will become Krishna conscious. And Prabhupada wheeled around and pointed his finger at me with his cane hanging down, pointed his finger at me, his eyes became huge and ferocious, and he said, automatically 10% will become Krishna conscious. Then he roared, but if you chant, why not 100%? So essentially, I considered that this is what we're doing here, 100%. Does that make sense, Ramachandra?
Yes. So you
Hare
tried that
Krishna.
I said you tried that in Los Angeles, but they kicked you out, right?
No, I've never tried. Only place, all I'm doing is World Sankirtan, and I want to write books that we'll create together.
Yeah.
Let's create the roadmap how to do this for the next 10,000 years. What will it take? 1,000 years by 1,000 years. 10 levels. Probably how will we do it? Can we make that our goal? I mean, if we just want to get a little farm and live on it and be by ourselves and let the rest of everybody else go to hell, then nobody's stopping anyone from doing that. But why should we do that? If we have a program of farming, we should do it to sharpen our farming skills for the bigger picture. Not that we will be doing it, but all you need is clear instructions. I've looked at all of these Dharma of an Ashram or Make Vrindavan Village books. They're full of interesting anecdotes, but they don't have a master plan. And I'm inviting, would you like that we shall all work together and create a master plan? Would you like that?
Yes.
How about you, Matthew? Would you like that also?
Excellent.
What
What I was thinking about is some pastime that I remember learning about was that there was corruption in the New York temple, and as Srila Prabhupada came to disband that corrupt temple president, he congratulated both the deserters of that temple and also the sincere ones that stayed just because it was an ISKCON temple. And so I'm wondering how we can institute Srila Prabhupada's clear glorification of all the devotees that are sincere into the situation we find ourselves in.
Well, what if we create undefeatable arguments for our point of view? I'm not saying our point of view is just our opinion. What if we do the study and find what is needed for the world that goes above current day goals and objections of ISKCON? Then we can say, come on, let's all go. Let's make that our goal, our objective. But we have to be very convincing. We can't just be oppositional. We can't just be against anything. We have to be for the fulfillment of the full vision of the 10,000 years of the golden age of Kali. Therefore, we have a league. Does that make sense?
Yes. What I'm wondering also is
setting an example is better than 1,000 other things.
that aspect of Srila Prabhupada as the Acharya coming in to disband the corruption. What can we?
I'm not quite sure which corruption you're talking about. Is it the situation with Bali Mardan?
Well, yeah, I'm just wondering what we could. I'm not really talking about any specific corruption, but just just how that's an aspect of the past.
What's the bottom line?
Yes, baby.
Is there some kind of team that is like actually? I mean, you were talking about. I remember in this other time that we were talking, there being a voting system on whether some authority is legitimate, and just if they have some bogus.
Oh, well, no, it's all bogus. Basically, the GBC is supposed to be elected. They have an unelected GBC that then elects gurus. That's completely off the table. That's not allowable in the Vaishnava Sampradaya. They're doing it because that's the way they manage, convince themselves to do, and they are, as it were, they're operating like the Vatican. They've turned the GBC into cardinals, unelected. I mean, cardinals come up, but then the cardinals elect the popes. So they just duplicated the Catholic Church. Okay, we're a bunch of GBCs, now we'll elect gurus. But it can't be done that way. So, but we can't go in with guns and tell them to leave. So we have to set a standard in writing that is so irreproachable that all the people that are fooled by these GBCs and Kanista Adhikari initiators that all these followers say, we have been shortchanged. We have been sold short. We want the real McCoy. We want the real thing. So does that make sense? Like, and that's all we can do. But then again, that's all Prabhupada did. When he came, he sat down, he chanted, he talked, people accepted. And so not everybody accepted. Some came and listened and went away. Some of those came back later. Some of those never came back. Some of the ones that sat down and listened left and never came back. That's just the way it is with people. But you can see the popularity of the Krishna consciousness movement was such that Hayagruva actually wrote a book about it called The Hare Krishna Explosion. And if you read that book, it pretty well shows you how to do it. So it didn't take huge muscles, because Prabhupada was an elderly gentleman. It didn't take youth, because Prabhupada was an elderly gentleman. What it took was the truth. So what I'm suggesting is, can we work? I'm begging, asking, or whatever you want to call it. I'm asking, I'm inviting, can we all work together to build a foundation of truth for the next 10,000 years that will work? That's the point. And by so doing, the people in the temples of various places will see no reason not to join us. Because what they're being given now isn't good enough to get them back to Godhead. We need to show exactly how to go back to Godhead. And that's what Kanista, Madhyam, and Uttamadhikari. It's not just that the guru waves his hand and, oh, I will take you back to Godhead like that. And then he bloops. No, it's going to take science, the science of Krishna consciousness. And if everyone on this site is interested, then let's go straight ahead and make it happen. Is Shreya still with us?
I believe not.
Oh, Ramachandra, did Shreya leave?
I believe she did, Nayanaraya.
Well, it'd be nice. I think when people leave, they should say they're leaving.
That's right. My mom taught me that.
I don't know.
My mother taught me that at a very early age. She says, when you go to bed, you say good night.
Yes.
Not like a donkey. I'll never forget that.
Well said. So who's on the, is Ramachandra still here?
Let's see, he may be muted. Matthew's still here, I believe.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Matthew.
Hare Krishna.
All right.
Yeah.
Where are you located?
I am just right down the street from Hare Krishna Dom, Houston.
Texas.
Yes.
All right. Nice. How's the weather out there these days?
Ecstatic.
Oh, great. Haribol.
Yeah, Houston is very nice. I spent a year there.
And they have a temple there in Houston.
Yeah.
Yes. The Houston, it seems kind of interesting because apparently, like, GBC doesn't really like, I guess control the temple here, but they have like meetings and stuff.
Well, who's the GBC for that area for Houston? Same as for Dallas and
I think
Austin.
just
they're not actually governed by the GBC. Like they don't have anybody over them. They're so big and powerful that that they actually facilitate GBC meetings, but they're not actually under the control of GBC directly.
Really? That's interesting.
$100 million, like,
When I was there, it didn't seem to be that big a temple. I mean, it seemed like a big temple, but not that huge.
I think it because a lot of like the Indian devotees that came later, they a lot of them, like I know at least one in particular, they like donated, they basically left an inheritance to ISKCON and like
I see.
millions of dollars.
I've heard some things about that, and it's that he was putting it there to not pay taxes, and then he left his body, and the temple management just took it and didn't give it to the family.
Damn.
So
Really?
it's a lot of corruption, like leads that I've heard about.
So
But
he was
I
just
mean,
sheltering his money there.
I've also heard that if you're going to be a thief and you give it to make a temple, at least it's a start. So I'm not too worried about all that. That's it happened. It's Krishna's arrangements and our foolishness.
I didn't actually know that.
Hare
Like,
Krishna.
I thought it was like a voluntary thing where like it was like, yeah, I'm leaving all my
I don't want to worry you.
Oh, no worries. It's just it's just an interesting twist to that story, I guess. It just kind of goes to paint the current conditions. It demonstrates what's going on, the spirit of, the modern day ISKCON movement, and how the standards have fallen so much that, on the surface they look like everything's nice. They're serving the deities nicely, but like internally, like the internal condition is very much been what do you call it? It's been affected, or what's the word I'm thinking of? Like, because they haven't maintained the standards, they have a lot of flaws, and the main point is that they can't actually, there's nobody to provide that higher platform. Uttama Adhikari, everybody's thinking that they're worshiping Prabhupada nicely, which they are to some extent, but they're not getting the whole payoff. So, unfortunately,
They're kicking the Vaishnavas out. But Krishna
yeah,
won't allow that, actually.
that's actually a good point, is that actually a lot of sincere seekers are being turned away from ISKCON. They're actually being rejected from ISKCON for kind of trying to question the standards, of trying to reestablish Vedic standards, and a lot of people, some people, go off on their own to try to, continue their devotional service, but unfortunately other people, they get phased by that, and then they end up not even following Krishna altogether. It's like it's kind of an unfortunate situation.
Is ISKCON a business?
Is now. and it's kind of incorporated.
Mhm.
It was before. It used to be like really about service, serving everyone and making sure that the priority is that people that were offering for Sodom and the holy name. And now it seems to be more about profit oriented, you know.
Mhm.
Our
Got it.
family business.
Right.
That's a book.
Was it?
I forget the author. It might be Tamal Krishna, but I'm not sure who the author is.
What's it called?
It's Our Family Business. I think it might actually be
Oh, that's by Sheshika.
by Sheshika Prabhu. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
You're correct. Yes.
And what is I guess I can kind of have an idea of what it might be about, but what's the gist of that book?
It teaches people how to distribute books and like why to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing
Hare
is that
Krishna.
he does good, like in that in the spirit of teaching people about the book distribution, and that was Prabhupada's request was that we distribute his books, but the unfortunately in order for him to operate as a guru or an initiator technically, um, he um, he has to distribute the altered versions, the altered Bhagavad Gita's and all this.
Change books.
Yeah. And so people are like these initiators outside, because they rely so much, like even if they have some question or like something that they don't agree with, and they, rather than try to bring it up or have it changed to reestablish the standard, they just kind of go along with the flow so that they can keep their, little piece of their little plot of, land, so to speak. And
That's the material body.
they don't actually, they have the exterior like demonstration of devotional service, but the internal qualities are not being developed as much because for the lack of acharya, lack of proper.
So those are all the issues that we wish to address, of course. And we can, because in the Varnashram villages, it will be, that's all people will do is chant japa, have kirtan, and interact for their livelihood with one another to create a society of that'll be beyond ideal. It'll just be a dream world of a society in terms of being a pleasurable place to be. The based on the principle of from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. So besides that also, with those goals in mind, with the 10,000 years of Golden Age Kali in mind, we can actually work, if the temples want, we can start working with them to restore Prabhupada's original structure and restore Prabhupada's original intent, so that the temples will then be able to expand unlimitedly. If the GBC is elected, then there's nothing to stop people from opening temples. And if there's nothing to stop people from opening temples, you can get temples in every town and village, everywhere, not just in one temple in a big city, which is sort of preposterous. So that's our goal. We can do it. But first people have to understand that we're telling the truth and that it's not something that can be just an opinion that can be destroyed by another opinion, but that what we're telling is revealed truth. And that revealed truth is coming from Krishna. And that Krishna wants us to do this. And he will guide us from within as Paramatma, so that there's no obstacles to our doing so. Does that make sense? Have you seen Ramachandra anywhere?
No, we haven't.
Yeah, I think that's why there's this these little periods of silence, because usually that's when he comes in and he'll interject and kind of guide the meeting some way or other.
Ramachandra Prabhu, are you still with us?
He's on mute.
He is. Well, he's on mute, but I'm not. Hopefully he can hear us. Ramachandra.
Sometimes, every now and then, he might fall asleep or something like that. But he might be away from you.
It's only 10 o'clock. I think we've accomplished a great deal. The trouble is, he's the only one that can sign us off, I think, right? Well, I guess we could all sign ourselves off. Is this enough? I think we've sort of touched on a lot of items. Is there anything that you see? Do you agree with the notion that we can create a body of philosophy that will sustain people for 10,000 years? Based, I mean, as a growth factor in Prabhupada's teachings, particularly around the Kanista Madhyam Uttamadhikari platform, which means how are you going to go back to Godhead? That should be a very interesting and exciting topic, because everyone wants to go back to Godhead. So how do you do it? And that this is what we're trying to show.
And how do we do that, Nayanaraya?
Well, by becoming first Kanistadikari, then work our way up through that matrix to Madhyamadikari, where we begin to develop pure unalloyed love for God, independent of our societal inclinations. And then after that, perfection, the Uttama Adhikari platform, which means consciousness-wise, we are in a reciprocal relationship with Krishna in Krishna Loka. All our body is still here, and we can still act and feel through the world, but not limited by that.
And what are the three levels again?
Oh, Kanista is like the ISKCON temples are right now. Kanista Adhikari means the following the regulated principles, but still being embodied and society-minded. You're thinking about your group, yourselves as a group. Then Madhyamadikari is when you want to leave behind your identification with your present body, and you want to develop a relationship with Krishna. You can't have a relationship with Krishna guided by your present body. I can't have a relationship with Krishna guided by my present body. I have to transcend my perception of self out of the body to the soul, and the soul can have a relationship with Krishna. And when the soul is in a relationship with Krishna, then the soul will gradually take on the qualities of eternal service to Krishna. When the soul does that, then Krishna will reciprocate, because there is no question of going back to Godhead without a reciprocal relationship with Krishna.
So Kanista Madhikari, Madhyamadikari, and the third?
Uttama. Uttama is like ultimate. Uttama. Uttam. Uttama Adhikari means in a state of grace meaning that you and Krishna have an ongoing relationship.
Hare Krishna.
Who joined us?
Shreya Prabhui.
Shreya is back?
Shreya Prabhui.
Oh, hi, well, Shreya Prabhu. How are you?
No answer.
No answer.
Who's facilitating? Because if we're not, like if Ramachandra is not responding, sometimes he'll give the host. He'll hand off the
Ramachandra
host.
is our host.
I'm here. What's up?
Here we go.
You are. We've been calling you for
We've
15
been
minutes.
looking for you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um.
you're in charge.
Yeah.
Shreya's back as well, I believe.
Yes.
So devotees have more questions, or should we end it?
Why did you leave the conversation? You're supposed to be running the whole thing.
I'm dropping my daughter off. We were like 30 minutes away, so I just dropped her off, and I'm just going home now.
Hare Krishna, drive safely.
Oh, I see. Well, it would have been good to know that.
Yeah.
See you Wednesday.
I just wanted to
Go ahead. Go ahead.
that
Ask.
there is a system that I heard of called the Bhakti Vriksha, and basically it's that a group of people living close together, or like that can have a meeting at least like once a week, or I'm not sure if that's like a rule, but they start meeting up, and there's someone that hosts these meetups, and there's a discussion on Srila Prabhupada's literature, like the Srimad Bhagavatam, and a kirtan and prasad distribution, and then like association. And what happens basically is, as this meetup grows, then they come to a point where they split off, and it just can basically go on and on, where
They're doing that right now?
well, no, it's just the system that I got taught a little bit, like
Well,
like
who's doing this?
I actually stopped going to Bhakti Vriksha, but there's like a few numbers that are posted on our temple's website. Just because my situation kind of changed, where I was living at the temple instead of at my parents' house, so I stopped doing it.
Are they living
Really
I mean,
nice?
do they have a temple, or do they meet in each other's homes? How do they do it?
Yeah, it's basically I'm like some family, some householder hosts, and it until it grows too big and they split and like do two groups, they just have these meetups.
So how many groups do they have so far?
It's about 7. I'd need to check the website just to be sure, but there might even be.
Where are they?
It's the closest one. I mean, they're spread around Houston. There's one that's like right by the temple too.
In Houston?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if like anyone here has ever heard of Bhakti Vriksha.
I've never heard of it.
I've been to some really nice programs.
Have you been to some of their meetings?
Yeah. Like years ago.
Are they Prabhupada people, or are they Guru people?
I all I can say is that they had very ecstatic kirtans and deep philosophy, and definitely there were some Prabhupada people there. Like,
Yeah, but who do they have a guru?
Body now, but he definitely pure devotee, confirmed, didn't have rigor mortis when he left his body.
Right. Unlike Tamal. Then Tamal was so stiff they had to bury him sideways at an angle.
Hare Krishna.
He couldn't bend. So are they Prabhupada Nugas? Are they Prabhupada disciples? Or are they, what are they?
It depends on the householder.
I see. I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
You think they would be interested in taking part in our Zoom calls?
I don't really know much about the
Structure?
well, the devotees that host that.
Hare Krishna.
Well, with the ISKCON people, you get all sorts of crowds, you know, the different gurus, different this, different that. So you never know what you're gonna get, honestly.
Yeah.
So is it, huh?
Had a box of chocolates.
Box of chocolates, right? So, and just today, I heard a conversation with Nityananda. He's the GBC of Dallas, Nityananda something, or Houston. He was having a conversation with Dashrath Sutta. And Dashrath Sutta Prabhu was complaining about the whole GBC, how they're unelected. There must be some checks and balances and the whole 9 yards. And how Romapada Swami is just laundering money and making money and this and that. You know, the
That
GBC
he
is,
is.
the GBC is totally out of control. And this way they were trying to make some sense into the whole picture, but you know, I'm not sure if Dasartha Sutta Prabhu was able to do anything tangible or not, but he was certainly very fired up about it. So,
Well,
I mean,
what we want is for the temples to find an avenue how they are going to be an important foundation stones for the next 1,000 years. If we can, if the members of the temple can see their own value, because so far we've learned that practically most of the devotees in temples, aside from their wheeling and dealing or whatever, is they're not satisfied. They don't feel they're getting the full measure. And the fact is they're not. So our job is to provide the full measure so that they will get, so that they can get the full measure.
Yes.
Yeah. And Krishna will give us his, will bless us to do this. It's not as though this is something wild or off the track. Human beings can go off the track. Krishna never goes off the track.
A lot of people, they want to work within the framework of ISKCON, and they're trying to talk with the GBC members, this and that, but that never gets anywhere. The people have to start talking. The congregation members have to start talking. The money has to stop flowing, or there has to be some stop to it. There has to be some checks and balances.
Well, isn't that what we're doing here?
Oh no, that's what we're doing. But these people are trying to directly connect with the corrupt GBC.
Why don't they join us?
That's the thing. Why they join? Yes. Hey, I'll pitch them a curveball and see if they can join.
I mean, if that's what they want, and that's what we're doing, why don't they join us and help work with us to do it?
You know Dasartha Sutta Prabhu?
Who?
Narayan Prabhu? Dasartha Sutta Prabhu? He was the devotee that started the Sonora. No, Arizona Sedona Center or Temple. Him and his wife.
What is his name?
Dasartha Sutta.
Oh, Dasarath.
Yes.
Yeah, I know him fairly well.
Yeah, he was having a conversation with the GBC something secretary, and it's a published conversation. I'll send it to it.
Yeah.
So the whole Bhanu Prabhu's here.
Bhanu. Oh my goodness.
Hare Bol. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol, Banu, welcome. We were yearning for your association earlier. We started around 8 o'clock.
I just finished my chanting.
Hare
Uh-huh.
Krishna, Banu Krishna Das.
Hare Krishna. I think we should also follow the Bhakti Viksha style of going, because that was how Prabhupada wanted Bhagavad Gita classes, Bhagavatam classes, and Kirtan classes. Those are kind of practical ways.
Right.
Of course. Well, that's what we get by associating with other devotees as classes. And why not? The problem is that if people are taking the point of view that we've been pursuing, we're not very welcome in the temples run by the GBC. So we have to create the interest in the congregations so that we will be welcomed by, not by the GBC, but by the congregation members. We're not trying to be subversive, we're just trying to speak the truth. But it's not always accepted.
Yeah, we can have classes from the unedited books, original books, the right philosophy.
I'm sorry?
We can have classes, discussions from the unedited books.
What about American books?
Unedited, original books.
Oh yeah, original books, yes. And my prediction, as you know, is that the Krishna consciousness movement in even just a few hundred years will be 100% in English, because that's the language that Prabhupada wrote in. And all the other languages will fade out. And we don't even know what they wrote in those books, because unless you know the language, you don't know what they wrote. So who knows what this has been said in the book.
That's something that I heard about this book that Srila Prabhupada wrote called Life Comes from Life, is that a Russian translated, and then it was translated from Russian to English, and it's not the same. And so it's been fixed. Now there's an English book from Srila Prabhupada called Life Comes from Life.
Huh.
So that's like it's gone full circle back to what Srila Prabhupada created.
Yes.
Rather than thinking for the next 10,000 years, we should be thinking for the next hour. What's up we doing? We think for what am I going to do the next hour? So like we can plan for the next 10 years or 5 years and work on it.
Oh yes, but I mean, but if you're an architect, you don't just concentrate on the basement of the house you're building, right? When you're an architect, you plan the whole house, then you build according to where you're at. So I agree with you. We can start, if we're at the basement, then let's work with the basement. But in terms of the plan, why shouldn't we have a plan for the whole building?
Yeah, that's different. You have a site plan which for the 10,000, but you must have the code plan for the next 5 years or 10 years and work on that. That would be the site plan for the 10,000 years. But that doesn't come into the picture, the 10,000 year plan, because.
Well, I mean, it seems like we have a confusion of purposes. The plan for 10,000 years is independent of our chanting associated with devotees, having kirtan, etc. That plan is just like it is Sagosti to develop the outcome of the Krishna consciousness movement on the global scale for the next 10,000 years or 9,000.
Well, you can talk about it that 10,000, but what are you going to do for the next 5 years and the 10 years? You can as well work on what you're going to do the next 10,000 years. You can as well work on the next 5 years.
Well, why shouldn't we make the blueprint for the 10,000 years in the next 5 years?
How can we get these short-term memories into the long-term memory? Yeah. Say we are gathering 100 people in this lifetime.
So what is the guarantee that these 100 people will be together in the next lifetime? They may only 10 people who may be together in the next lifetime. So that itself is a drawback. Only the
What?
devotion would be carried forward.
No, we make everything in writing.
No. I'm saying the Ishtagosti group, 100 people would be gathered in this life, and say in the next life, only 10 people would be connected of all these 100 people. So as they take on new lives,
I don't understand how you draw those figures, get those numbers.
No one can go get these numbers. I mean, would you pray to Krishna that let all these 100 people be together for life after life and it grow again and again? That would be a material wish. Like nothing is guaranteed. I'm saying
we are not making. I have no interest in making an arrangement for people to stay here for many births. I'm just calculating that it may take a number of births before people become Uttamadhikaris. I don't know. Maybe you'll become an Uttamadhikari in 10 minutes. But the point is, I don't asking anyone to stay for 10,000 years.
Yeah, of course, you have been asking, going off you're defending yourself right now. I'm not asking. You have been asking people to stay throughout the 10,000 years as Uttamadhikaris and liberate people like that.
Well, you don't think that you need to become an Uttamadhikari?
No, you're going to a different topic. But how would they people go into one lifetime to another lifetime? And how would the group grow from one lifetime to another lifetime? It would be keep on diminishing in each lifetime.
Towards perfection of life in this one lifetime? Banu.
No, answer my question I've been asking.
I don't understand your question at all.
Nayanarayan.
Yeah.
Nayanarayan.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here. I'm listening. Bhanu Prabhu is asking a question. Narayan Prabhu. Yes, I'm here.
What is the question?
Okay. Nayanarayan.
Yes.
Manu Prabhu is saying that only 10% of us will see each other in our next transformation or transcendation. Only 10% of us. Only 10% of us.
Where does he get that statistic?
Out of 100 people, only 10 of us are going to see each other on the next level.
Why?
He's saying he's given an example. He's saying, what if we don't all appear at the same exact time? You know, he's trying to.
Supposing we start out with 100 and we end up in a few years with 10,000. Then what about your 10 people? Where do they go?
Only 10%.
Okay, you gather 10,000 and only 100 people will be carried forward together. We stayed in the next lifetime, only 100 people will be together.
Well, nobody's going to be carried forward together. We all get carried forward individually.
That's what I'm saying. Then in the next lifetime, only 100 people will meet together and the Ishtagosti, the league for 10,000 people, only 100 people will be there in the next lifetime from 10,000.
It depends on whether we like it.
It could be 100,000, 100, it could be 100, 500, whatever, but it would surely be diminishing. Only the spiritual, only our sadhana, only once
increase.
Only once devotion would be carried forward in the next lifetime. Nothing else is guaranteed to be carried forward.
Each jiva goes into his next birth.
Only once devotional service is carried forward in the next lifetime. Only that is guaranteed.
But what about the jiva? What about you as a spirit soul? Do you get carried forward? Does the jiva go into the next birth?
Yeah, so?
Yeah, so it's not just the devotional service, it's the jiva goes in the next birth. Surrounded by whatever.
What along with the jiva goes? It's a devotional service that gets carried forward and nothing else.
Yeah, devotional service, fine. But what does devotional service include compassion for the conditioned souls?
Also,
That's-
Bhanu
Srila
Prabhu,
Prabhupada
I'm
lives
kind of
on.
That's
lost
it.
in the
I'm
question
just
here.
curious. I don't. Ramachandra, can you help us here?
How can I help you? Bhanu Prabhu is asking a question and there's a discussion. So he's saying that
Yeah, he says that I'm saying the jiva goes forward, surrounded by whatever devotional service he's done. Bhanu says only 10% will go forward with and only the devotional service goes forward, not the jiva. So I don't understand what he's saying.
No, you're
he's talking
escaping the
about something else.
question.
Bhanu
I think
Prabhu,
this.
could you please clarify your doubt, because I don't know from where you're referencing and saying what part of the devotional service will move on to the next birth and
No,
how it
if
is.
you want to duck, the question
Exactly.
and duck it. If you don't want to answer the question, you're reframing
I
the
can
question
answer the
another way.
question but what is the question?
See,
I haven't heard a question yet.
See, okay, I'll tell you the question again. Say we gathered 1,000 people in our league for 10,000 years in this lifetime, and after in the next lifetime, only 100 people will be together in the
Why?
league for 10,000 years.
Why?
So that nothing is carried forward. Why means? Is it
Why
guaranteed
would
that
it
all the 1,000 people will be connected in the next lifetime?
Of
But
course.
there's no guarantee even the 100 would.
We're
Yeah,
all
no
going to be
guarantee.
connected with
No guarantee.
in Krishna
Nothing is
Loka,
guaranteed.
we're connected with unlimited jivas.
When Srila Prabhupada started a movement, he didn't start saying, I will do it for 10,000 people or for 10,000 years. He started it with the hope that it is going to be for the betterment of human society. When you
Yes.
keep your motive towards improving whatever one person you come in contact with, I
Yeah.
think that will make up the numbers that we want without you having to target numbers.
Numbers will increase, not decrease. No?
The way we think that we need to
It is sure
look
to
at
decrease.
the numbers.
The leak for 10,000 years, whatever you have gathered in the next lifetime, it will decrease. I can
Why?
guarantee you that.
Don't worry about
One
it.
thing I can
Your
contribute
part
to
of the
this.
job is to instill this.
Ramachandra, can you make sense out of this? Why will it decrease?
I think it's where our mind is when we're at the time of death. Just like the king, I can't remember his name, that he was taking care of the deer, and he became a deer in the next life for thinking about the deer and taking care of the deer. So if we having our consciousness to carry on this movement for the next 10,000 years, and at the time of death, why not associate in the next life with the same devotees?
Exactly.
Yes, everything but karma is eternal.
Yes.
Say, I come across so many devotees in my life, and I moved on from them. I come across you people right now, and maybe I'll come across new people in my lifetime. So there's no guarantee whom I will exist with the next lifetime.
So how many more lifetimes do you think you're going to take, Anu?
No. You're going to another question now. You stick with this discussion.
Bhanu Prabhu, please help me understand if I understand your question correct. You're saying that people will not stick on to a certain movement and until they are satisfied, they'll be there, and then when their calling is for more and they find it somewhere else, they'll move on. Is that what you're saying?
No, we are planning for a leak for 10,000 years.
Okay.
If you're planning for 10,000 years, we're not even going to carry forward the people that like we are here 10 people. We're not even going to carry forward these 10 people into the next lifetime and be there as a group. There's no guarantee for that. So it's sure to decline the number of people each lifetime.
Okay, I'll tell you one more. The way you're thinking is probably a totally different perspective, but the whole idea behind having, to start a group like this is to instill in everybody that they want to be a part of such a group and continue it for generations together. Which means every person you meet, if they are going to be, constantly getting the nectar of devotion, if you are able to connect to them why they have to stay connected, then it will automatically move on to generations, right? Because all that we have to do is teach them the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and how much are we going to make them chant? It's all in the
Right.
chanting. It's all
I
in the
agree.
chanting. So if we all put together an effort to make everybody chant, whoever we come in contact with, automatically they're going to stay connected. I think that's all we can
They
think
are
of.
going to
as
stay
far as-
connected with Krishna. They're not going to stay connected with the league for 10,000 years. If you're mixing Krishna consciousness with the league for 10,000 years. This you treat it as separate entities. Don't mix it and say whoever comes in contact with Krishna, Hare Krishna mantra, they are also going to be in connected with the league for 10,000 years. No, you're mixing both things.
Prabhu, this reminds me of a quote, and it goes that one should feel as if they are unable to do anything, and they're like they can't provide anything more, but they should act on the platform that they must and they are responsible to.
That's good. I've
So-
heard something similar that
I
you
think I
act
really
as though
quote there, but that's
You
the
pr-
idea.
you
I mean,
pray as though
like
everything depends on God, and you act as though everything depends on ourselves.
Yeah, yes, it's that.
So
So rather
Balaprabhu,
than planning for the next 10,000 years, which is not in our hands, we plan for the next 5 years, next 10 years. So like when I wake up, I plan for what I would be doing in the next hour. You don't plan for the next 10,000 years and do nothing in the next moments.
Bhanu Prabhu, can you please tell me what is the league for 10,000 years for? What is the purpose behind the league?
World Sankirtan and Daivi Varnashram.
So then how is the Mahamantra not connected to the league?
But tell me, how are you going to do World Sankirtan? How are you going to get 100,000 people?
How
Very
to
easy.
get a different question
Very
on
easy.
the league is not connected with the Mahamantra. I'm trying to understand what is the purpose here. That's all. I'm not saying how will we bring. We are not talking about it. That's a different question there.
This is a group. I mean, you don't make a. This is a group which is planning, which is making a entity of the 10,000 years. We cannot, base our something on something fictitious, 10,000
Anu,
years.
we have not invented the 10,000 years. This is the prediction of Lord Chaitanya.
Right.
Okay. What did Chaitanya say? You make a group of 10,000 years, stay connected, become Uttamadhikaris, make others Uttamadhikaris. No. Chaitanya predicted that the Hare Krishna mantra movement will go for 10,000 years. He didn't say you stay there till the 10,000 years, that is the last year, and keep delivering people. No. He said this mantra will deliver everyone, he said. He didn't say, he said you can be go back.
Would you like to see ISKCON consciousness considering what we need to do as devotees for 10,000 years?
What, Prabhu?
That's a question.
What is the question?
The question is simple. Would you like ISKCON to be alert to the idea that we have a responsibility to deliver the fallen souls of this earth, following the example of Lord Chaitanya, for the next 10,000 years?
That's what I'm concerned about. You don't keep it, you don't postpone it to the next life, do it in this life. Because nothing is guaranteed.
Guaranteed is you'll take another body.
Then I have a question, Bhanu Prabhu. We don't have guarantee about the 10,000 years. I have a question. If it's already said that the Kali Yuga is going to come to an end, if it's already said that the human tendency is not going to remain with high levels of humanity, then what are we even trying to aim for? If it is already said and done, are we not trying to change what is already said in the Puranas then? I don't see the point.
I didn't understand your question, Mataji.
I'm saying, as per the Puranas, as per our Vedic literature, it is already said that the Kali Yuga is going to come to an end after 4,35,000 something years, correct?
Okay.
So, if we are going to target the next 10,000 years and we are trying to do something better for the humanity in general, then are we not contradicting what is already said? And the whole purpose is
Say,
about self upliftment, self move,
I'll give you. Okay, if you want to come here and take birth in the next life also, next life also, and until you become Uttamadhikari, even after becoming an Uttamadhikari, you want to deliver again, make others Uttamadhikari. I'll tell you an example. Bharat
No,
Maharaj.
that is again becoming
Bharat
materialistic.
Maharaj
Right?
became a Madhyamadhikari, and he was chanting, meditating on Vishnu or Krishna, and later he got affection for a deer, and he fell into Maya. He lost. I mean, he fell for Maya, and later he came as Jada Bharata. Then he got fixed up. This time he didn't fall for anything. He wanted to be fixed up in devotional service, and later he went back to Godhead. Now, how many times are you gonna fall for Maya if you're gonna be there in the next 10,000 years? You think you're so overconfident that no, I'll be born again and again in the next 10,000 years. Maya cannot touch me. I'll become an Uttamadhikari, Madhyamadhikari. I'll keep on delivering people. That's not the move.
Vanu. That's not
I think
sensible, you know.
totally putting it on a different note altogether.
Are you planning to be a devotee in your next lifetime, Vanu?
Really speculating, like.
Okay. Can you speculate, Banu? If you want to speculate, are you going to be a devotee in your next lifetime?
I can become a devotee.
Huh?
I'm already a devotee, and I will carry on my devotion.
I know, but you say you
progress
can
in the next lifetime.
You want to be a devotee in your next lifetime also?
It's not whether I wanting me to be a devotee. I mean, it would be progressive
forever, right?
in each lifetime.
You want to be a devotee forever?
You're not answering the point which I raised, but you're putting forward another question to me.
Huh? If you want to be
You
a
are
devotee
not answering
forever,
what the question which I have raised, but you're putting another question to me, Prabhu.
You're saying that you'll be caught in the Maya, and so you will keep taking births after births, and then you will keep claiming to become
No.
devotee.
You fall from a Madhyamadhikari status, and you'll again have to rise again.
Okay. Don't you think all these taglines
status.
who you are is for the group, but the spiritual part doesn't have taglines. Nobody is going to call you you're this and you're that. The only whole idea behind the Krishna movement, the Krishna consciousness movement, is to continuously do your kirtans, the japa.
Yeah, no
These
one is questioning that, Mataji. No one is questioning that. I'm also doing that. You're also doing that.
And then why is there the aim to become an, whatever adhikari? Why do we even have to aim for it? That should be like an election.
You should be asking Narayan Prabhu that.
What do you want to ask? Panu, if you become an Uttamadhikari, do you plan to stay an Uttamadhikari for eternity?
Is that possible?
Of course.
What kind of question is that? Do you plan to become an Uttamadhikari? I mean, once you become an Uttamadhikari, you stay Uttamadhikari.
Yes. So, how many births will it take for you to become an Uttamadhikari?
That's not a question to be answered. No one knows. Prabhupada also said, how you asked Prabhupada. So what did Prabhupada say?
He said,
there's no falling from
why
grace.
Not? You're in the process, but it may take some time.
But it may take some time, some lifetimes, he said. It may. Prabhupada also didn't answer that. It may take some lifetimes. He didn't answer how many lifetimes. So why do you keep asking how many lifetimes it will take to become Madhyamadhikari?
It may take some time. Remember, time exists only in the material world. Lifetimes or time doesn't make any difference. right? What difference does it make? I think that if you take it from a calm, introspective point of view, you can say that, let's put it in a way which I hope will eliminate any anxiety. And that is, right now, you're chanting Hare Krishna, you're a devotee. Either at the end of this lifetime, you will magically go back to Godhead, or you'll take another birth to become an even more advanced devotee. Let's just say you don't go in reverse and become a non-devotee. Let's say you become a devotee again, and then again, and then again, each time making more and more spiritual advancement. The question really rests on the table: how many births will it take for Bhanu to become an Uttama Adhikari? So how many births is it going to take for you to become
It's
an
not a
Uttama
point of
Adhikari?
discussion, so it's not worth answering, I'm saying.
What?
It's not a point of discussion. It's no one knows of answers about that. No one knows when he will become an Uttamadhikari. No one knows it. It's not a point to discuss on.
So what is the point of discussion?
Can we do it in this lifetime?
Yes.
You can, but will you?
What merit does your question have, Banu Prabhu? You're just speculating.
I think
I think Narayan Prabhu is speculating. Maybe making a leak for 10,000 years.
No.
Well,
I'm
I have
just
heard
saying-
that.
In the heart of the devotee.
I'm not saying we're going to live for 10,000 years. I'm saying we make a plan for 10,000 years, whether we're here or not. Architect is not the same thing as a general contractor. I'm not a builder, I'm an architect. So let's make an architect. Let's make an architecture
I can provide you
together
evidence. You
for
have been
10,000 years.
speaking. You have
It has
been
nothing to
speaking
do-
all the while that we need to take birth in this 10,000 years again and again, 100
I've told
lifetimes.
you time and time again that that is not true. And every
What is
time I
not
tell
true?
you, you say you accept that. But then you come back
100
again
lifetimes.
saying,
You didn't say that we need to take 100 lifetimes throughout these 10,000
no,
years.
I am saying you need to take as many lifetimes as it will take to become an Uttamadhikari. And you don't know how many that is, and neither do I. Right?
So if we don't know, does that mean we live devotion? We just carry on until we
Carry on, but-
Krishna, until we co-create the Swarupa with Krishna. Until that point, we keep on chanting.
Yes, we keep on chanting, and eventually we will reach Madhyamadhikari platform. But the question is, Uttamadhikari is where you see Krishna face to face. Right? I'm not telling you to stay here for 10,000 years, particularly since Kali Yuga will be, Golden Age of Kali will be finished in less than 5,000, 9,500
Well, you
years.
have been telling, and you can keep on telling, and
You
we'll see how many people will stay.
Bhanu, you keep on misunderstanding what I'm saying. I've never said that, ever. You say, I don't say it.
Anyway, if you don't, you said you should be your word.
I am my word.
I am my word. I don't keep my word. I am my word, and that's what you've been teaching. And you don't even
Yes.
keep your word. You're not your word.
I am my word. I have never said to anyone they need to stay here for 10,000 years, particularly since there isn't even 10,000 years left. You can stay for 9,000, 8,000, 6,000, 2,000, 1,000, or even 50 years. Doesn't
Bhanu
matter to
Krishna
me.
Das left.
What?
Bhanu Krishna Das left.
Who? Oh,
Yes.
who?
Bhanu Krishna Das left.
He left?
He left the group. That's it. He's gone.
Huh.
I mean, he could have taken that same attitude with Prabhupada way back when, before Prabhupada came to America. You know, like, I don't understand why.
It's amazing.
Kind of pessimistic.
Ramachandra Prabhu. Ramachandra? Ramachandra Prabhu.
It's offline.
Is Ramachandra here?
We're just gonna have to sit and wait.
I remember something that sounded a lot like what you said earlier, and it's that we should not desire to have Krishna's association. We should act in such a way that Krishna wants to have our association.
Exactly.
Amen.
Yeah. That's
Hare
the
Krishna.
that's what the Madhyamadikari does, is transforms from the first to the second. Because when the Madhyamadikari reaches perfection, that's because Krishna ends up being so pleased that he wants the association of that devotee.
Hare Hare.
Yeah.
It was interesting
Ramachandra,
that
are you there? I
Haribo.
think we should stop using pictures, because you see a person there and then you ask them the question they aren't there.
I think it was, I was gonna say that I think it's interesting because I brought up the example of the king who was taking care of the deer and he became a deer in the next life. I said, I was saying like
That was an accident, you know. He made
Right,
the
right.
mistake. He was an Uttamadikari, he was a pure devotee, but he made the mistake of
my point.
calling for the deer and falling off a cliff with the deer on his mind, and he became the deer. It was not a critique of his spiritual life as much as it was he made a blunder, even though he was on the perfectional or near perfectional level. He made a blunder by calling for the deer because he didn't want the deer to get hurt,
Right.
or worse yet, killed.
My point was that if we can like have the power of our mind can lead us to become from being an Uttamadikari to being a deer in the next life, why not continue to be a devotee if we carry that same mentality to the time of death? And then he turned around and used the same story to try to argue his. I don't know if he heard me with the point that I made, but he turned around and used the same example to try to argue his point. So I was like, I found it interesting that it was, you can use the same story, But I was trying to make to him. I said, why not? Why can't you also become a devotee in the next life if you can? The mind has the power to.
You're talking about Bhanu?
Right. Yeah.
Ramachandra,
Yes.
I've been calling for you for 10 minutes.
Okay, I'm here now.
Well, where were you?
I was just dropping my daughter off.
I thought you said you dropped her off and you were driving home.
No, I was just putting her in the car, and I just dropped her off. It's a.
Anyhow, we had a very. You see,
Yeah, I know.
I don't want to be the direct person to talk to Bhanu.
Well, then he has the
You
questions for
are
you.
the right person to talk to Bhanu.
All right, so I'll talk to him. I'll tell him to talk to me. I'll talk to him then.
He
looks like
jumped off of the line after calling me a liar.
Well, he called you a liar, huh? Well,
Basically, he said I don't keep my word. I'm not keeping my word. He's obsessed with the idea that I want him to take Earth until the end of the 10,000 years of the golden age of Kali. And I don't.
Well, no one's forcing anyone to do anything, you know.
Huh?
So,
were you paying attention to what was
uh,
happening? Were you listening to the?
Yes, I was listening. Bhanu Prabhu was asking
So
a
what did you
specific
make of what Banu said?
Bhanu was arguing the same points like last time. His points
Which
haven't
is?
changed.
What
Which
is
is
his
that
point?
his point is, why are you telling us that we should make a league and then preach Krishna consciousness until you become an Uta Madhakari and take everyone back home, back to Godhead? Why are you forcing that? But you're not forcing that.
What else are you going to do?
He doesn't want to do that, and he's making so many excuses to.
Well, what does he want to do?
No idea. Maybe he wants to go back to Godhead now, or in after this lifetime.
He doesn't say that. He said it. Whatever happens, you know, he was making very vague references and accusing me of not answering his question. But his question seemed to me totally garbled. So I couldn't make sense of his question.
Yeah, Shreya Prabhu was also asking him to clarify, and Bhanu was saying it's hard to understand this guy, you know. So
I don't know. I'm not trying to understand the guy. I'm trying to understand what he's saying.
Well, the guy is saying it, so who's saying?
Well, it doesn't matter. The guy has just pus, blood, stool, and urine. His body, right. Dead body. I'm not interested in Bhanu's dead body. I'm interested in his consciousness.
Well, his consciousness is that he wants to go back to Godhead, or he doesn't agree with what
he didn't even say that though. What he was arguing, and
Ronald Prabhu clarified.
Go ahead, Shreya. Yes, Shreya made total sense. She said, answered Bhanu made total sense. So Shreya, can you try to sort this out? Because I don't know where to even begin to sort it out. But you did well. You did brilliantly.
Calling this group as a league for 10,000 years. It's like you're portraying that you want to make it up for 10,000 years of this kind of a group togetherness, but then there's no guarantee of what can happen when.
Yes.
When Prabhupada spent about 10 years and built this entire kingdom of devotees, where there are so many lakhs of people following it. Do you think all of them are looking to become something as a part of the temple? I strongly disagree, because everybody is on their own spiritual path, and everybody wants more information to progress and advance in their personal lives. And in that process, if somebody does open up to that degree of willingness to help the human society, and if there is blessings from your acharya, like how it happened with Srila Prabhupada, that he was asked to take it up and he was assigned the task to fulfill it, I think that will probably be the way to get started. Otherwise, I don't think so everybody individually can think, I want to become this. And
Shreya Prabhu, can I try to make one little part of this, if possible, clear and easy to deal with? The problem, I think there's some astrological interference tonight. It just seems like things are a little astrologically weird. And, the communication is not its best. But shall I say that here we are in the year 2021.
Right.
How many more years is each? Well, we're all going to live different lifetimes. I'm much older than all of you. So I will probably be gone 20, 30, 40 years before you are. And then after that, your children, et cetera, going on. How long will that go on? So once you leave your body, you take another body. If you take another body, presumably, you'll take a body of a devotee. If you take the body of a devotee, that means you'll be taking a body in the line of Lord Chaitanya, because the only way for a person taking a body and being a devotee in the age of Kali is to chant Hare Krishna. And the only source of the Hare Krishna mantra is Lord Chaitanya. He Namacharya. He's the one who brought the holy name. So as we take birth after birth after birth, presumably we will continue. We will be chanting Hare Krishna with increasing purity. The question really rests, and this is the question that started everything going a month ago, and that is, how long will it take from now, where you are or I am, or each of us are in an individual place of a certain amount of realization, how long will it take, or how many births will it take before each of us becomes an Uttama Adhikari? And it is obviously not going to be the same for each person. It's not a mass thing like a Christian conversion or something. You take
So exactly.
you live to the end of your life, you take another birth, presumably you'll take a birth in a family of devotees, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and in the line of Lord Chaitanya, which means on planet Earth, not some other planet. What occurs to me is that we are all going to be a big clump, an ever-increasing size clump of people who have taken up chanting Hare Krishna over the next 10,000 years. The real question is, if we're going to leave, as Banu so urgently wants to do, how many births or how many years or how many hours or minutes, whatever Banu thinks.
Banu's thing is, you don't have to worry about that. You just chant Hare Krishna, follow the regulated principles, and then when it's time, that
Who's
will
talking?
be me, Ronald.
And
Yes.
Ronald Prabhu, if you remember, I
Could you
had
get rid
shared
of that? Can you get rid of the picture, please?
I'm driving.
Will you give me your solemn vow you will never ever put it up again?
I cannot give you a solemn vow.
And the minute I see it, I'm off. I'm out. I don't want to be involved anymore. It was such a humiliation that I reached out to you and you weren't there, and you didn't tell me you weren't going to be there. I feel humiliated, so I don't like that experience.
Okay, let's end it here then. Let's end it here and let's discuss on Wednesday.
We can. Oh, you refuse to take down the picture right now?
I'm driving now, Dan Prabhu.
You're still driving. Well, I can't see that. Oh. Okay, I don't know what you're doing, and you're not telling me what you're doing. Okay, so you're driving.
Yes. So.
Okay. So, how do you take it? How many births do you think is likely for someone to take to go from where we are now, and we're all in different places right now?
Right.
To become an Uttama Adhikari.
Are you familiar with?
Go ahead.
The Chaitanya Charitamrita verse about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance and the astrology of them? In that verse, it's described that the moon was covered up because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was providing enough effulgence that the moon was unnecessary.
Okay.
Well, when I was with the Bhakta program here, I just said, like, I kind of felt like that there's like a big resonance with like the moon in that situation, in that like we can kind of feel like this whole Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is going on, and what can I do to improve it? And our Bhakti leader said like that it's been written by Vaishnavas before.
What has been written?
That like it's just established that like what I was describing, that feeling of being covered over like the moon in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. So
and that point? The point. What's the point?
Oh, it's that like just that he had a moot point actually about making all this argument about like time and all this and then it was a whole bunch of drama here over a moot point, really.
Meaning, what was the moot point?
I couldn't exactly understand what he was asking you, but it was.
Oh, who are we talking about?
Bhanu Prabhu was asking who? Bhanu Prabhu asking or Lord Chaitanya?
Yeah, what Bhanu was asking.
Because you were talking about Lord Chaitanya and the moon being covered.
Yes, and then Bhanu came in, yes.
But then how did Bhanu get into the moon? How did Bhanu get into the picture? Okay, what's the point?
Just that making a whole deal about like whether we should make these plans. It's that actually they're already like established.
Like what? Meaning what? What sort of plan?
Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu guaranteed that there would be chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in every town and village.
Right, it's going on.
So
somewhat.
you mean it'll go on without our participation?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's not to like, it will go on, and what to speak if we participate as well. Like it's
it'll go on because people do participate. It will not go on with zero participation. Now there's free will is involved. Choice. We can choose to chant.
Right. Yes.
If we choose to chant, it will go on, at least in the area that we influence for the sound vibration of the holy name. If we choose not to chant, then it will not go on in our immediate vicinity because we're not chanting. So we chant or we don't chant, that's choice. We can choose to chant or choose not to chant, correct?
Yes.
In fact, in a given day, we choose to chant sometimes, and sometimes we choose not to. Sometimes we choose to talk prajalpa, sometimes we choose to talk Krishna Katha.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so I mean, that is a clearing stage of Krishna consciousness. Clearing stage is what Prabhupada said we're in. When you take Diksha, or even before taking Diksha, or even instead of taking Diksha, it's a clearing stage. You're clearing your illusion, Maya, bad habits, etc., and replacing with Krishna consciousness, as taught by Srila Prabhupada.
Right.
He's the only one that's taught it. Even the so-called gurus or the initiators, they are not creating anything. They're trying to follow Prabhupada also. But they're not duplicating Prabhupada because they're not adhikaris. They're not on the purely on the spiritual platform. They're on a mixed platform. They're religious, but they're not spiritual. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Hare
The
Krishna.
Catholic Church has so many priests. Now so many priests are not arrested, but exposed for child molestation for the last 2,000 years. So, so what can you say? I mean, they're fallible human beings. Not one of them is Jesus. They're all priests. So I don't quite see where it ties in. Look at any individual that has heard the holy name of Krishna, decides to chant, wants to broadcast the holy name into every town and village. You, me, or somebody else, or all of the above, wants to chant Hare Krishna into every town and village. So if we're chanting Hare Krishna into every town and village, other people will hear us. They may want to join with us and chant in a group called Sankirtan. We want to chant congregationally chant together. We can make a temple or not make a temple. We can chant in a public space, or we can chant in a house or in a room. But chanting is chanting. Wherever it is done, it's still Krishna's holy name being manifested through individuals that are ready and willing, particularly willing, to chant. Right? Okay. So now the question is, if you're doing that, are you planning to go back to Godhead? Or are you just like chanting without going back to Godhead? If somebody, Guru, told you, chant Hare Krishna, it's a lot of fun, but there is no such thing as going back to God. You're just going to die and that'll be the end of it. Would you continue to chant? I don't know. I don't know anyone that would, but maybe they would. You know what I mean? If you say there is no God, but you can chant Hare Krishna because it's fun to do, well, it's not that much fun to do if there's no God. We're chanting because it is the chant. The mantra is Krishna, is God. The proof is in the eating. The proof of the taste is Krishna. The taste is Krishna himself. We are tasting Krishna by chanting japa or kirtan, if we do it nicely, particularly. So, as that goes on, how many births would it take before we cease to be conditioned souls? That we become pure devotees of the Lord? That is basically the big question that is never answered by any of the initiators in this country, right?
Right.
They can't tell you. They don't try to tell you. Everyone just assumes that they're going to die and go to heaven, like a Christian.
Right.
Who's talking?
Me, Ronald.
Matthew? Who?
Ronald.
Banu?
Ronald. No, Ronald. Ramachandra Singh.
Oh, no. Okay. Who's driving carefully, I hope. So so if you come to the point of wanting to perfect your relationship with Krishna, and we have to admit that from whatever places we came is not the same as perfect relationship to Krishna. If you are not a vegetarian, if you're taking intoxication, all these things, that's not a pure devotee of Krishna. So if you want to become a pure devotee of Krishna, first you give those things up, you follow the regular principles, you chant, you go to the temple, you worship the deity, you take prasadam, all of those things. That's the Kanistadikari. The question then is, do you want to remain a Kanistadikari? And if you do, what will happen to you at the time of death? So who would like to answer that? What will happen to you at the time of death if you're a Kanistadikari?
Well, you still have to take birth again.
Who said that?
Ramachandra.
Oh, Ramachandra. You have to take birth again. Well, whether you have to or not, you will take birth again because, as you said, there's no real, you don't have an option, right? Taking birth again is what happens if you're not a pure devotee. So then what happens after you take a birth again? What do you do then? You're Kanistadikari when you die. Then what happens after you're dead? After you take another birth, are you born as a Kanistadikari again?
Of course. You start from wherever you leave off. You started at 10%.
Exactly. That's very intelligent. So then what happens?
Obviously, you'll take birth in hopefully a devotee family, or you might take birth in a somewhat unfriendly family where you'll continue at a certain age, or maybe from birth. Who knows? That is
who knows? You might even become a dog eating scraps of prasadam outside the kitchen door of a temple. Who knows? But the main point is, let's just say that you become another human being who's a devotee. So how long does that go on? How many births do you take as a Kanista Adhikari?
That's a good question.
Well, what's the good answer?
Well, why are we like the Kanishta Adhikari will take birth? That's a guarantee. Where will it take birth? That is all the details. So
Well,
are we so much?
Do you agree that it's likely, that it's inevitable that anyone who became a devotee of Prabhupada, meaning in the line coming straight from Lord Chaitanya, is going to take birth not that far from where you leave your body? You'll take chant. You'll be born into a family that chants Hare Krishna, that heard from Prabhupada also.
There are some words from Vishwanath Chakravarti, and it's about a commentary that he gave to verse 9, chapter 9, verse 30 of Bhagavad Gita, which was explained to me by the Bhakti leader when I was in the Bhakti program here. That
okay,
you know that verse that even if one commits the most grievous sin, even if he is in devotional service, then he should be considered a sadhu.
Yes.
Okay.
And he told me this really commentary from Vishwanath Chakravarti about that.
Okay.
And basically in his purport, he says that even if one goes on and on taking births, as long as there's that devotion, then they should be considered sadhu.
Sure, definitely. That separates you from the people that are only interested in me and mine. When you chant Hare Krishna, you're separating your interest away from your body, away from your family, away from your country, away from your race and your species, and you direct it to Krishna. So it takes you out of all of the categories that bind people to the material world. Therefore, you're a sadhu. Categorically, you may not look or act like a sadhu, but you are a sadhu because you're separating yourself from Maya, from the material consciousness.
Right.
But how does this get us to? I was asking Ramachandra. Ramachandra, you still there?
I'm here. Yes, I'm listening. How does it get us where?
Okay. How many births will you likely take as a Kanista Adhikari before you're ready to become a Madhyam Adhikari?
How many birds? Probably a couple. I don't know. Probably 10, 100, 20. I don't know. I mean,
no, I'm talking about you personally. I'm talking about you personally.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know.
If it's Bhanu, just a few more years in this body.
Well, you can kind of judge yourself how many births you're gonna take if you're free from these sinful activities, these 4, and then you can always remember Krishna even when you're sleeping. Then you can have some idea of where you are. So I'm not even close yet. So probably several.
Yeah, say several, and then when you reach the Uttama, so how many years is several births? Would you say?
Oh yeah, if you live at least, let's put 80 years, 7, 8, 56, 560 years. I mean, if you put several, 7 times 8, 56, 560 years to probably, I don't know, that's a long time. I mean, not a long time, but 700, 800 years.
Okay.
If you live 80 years.
We're only dealing with something over 9,000 years, right?
Yeah. So that's little when you
that
compare
takes
that.
A big bite. That takes a big bite out of it. Well, the problem is with Bhanu, is that he doesn't understand two things. One is that once he takes up chanting Hare Krishna, he got that from Lord Chaitanya via Srila Prabhupada, maybe via somebody else, but they got it from Prabhupada, they got it from Lord Chaitanya. So he has to keep on taking births, chanting Hare Krishna, and the most likely next birth is somebody, family, husband and wife, who are chanting Hare Krishna. Okay?
Yes.
Well, doesn't it make sense? Where would he go to become Krishna conscious except planet Earth, nearby where he died?
Well, at least talking about my personal situation, where it seems like, at least my personal, I have some recollection of being born in India and being surrounded by Brahmins chanting. So probably in some other birth. So that is there. I can I can agree to that perspective that I remember some of my past lives being in India, where the Brahmins were chanting. I don't know what they were chanting, but certainly they were doing some kind of sacrifices. Okay. There was some chanting going on, and there was some offenses committed on my part when they were doing some kind of sacrifice or something. So some parts of that I remember. So obviously I was around devotees. I was around Brahmins.
Okay,
devotees.
So now you're around devotees again.
Yes. Yes.
It doesn't matter what happened between then and now. You were among devotees then, you're around devotees now.
Yes.
And you're chanting Hare Krishna now.
Yes.
And you probably were chanting Hare Krishna then.
Yes, yes, most likely.
So that's the proof that it's more than one lifetime. Okay.
Yes,
likely.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always possible a person can go back to Godhead at the end of his lifetime. I don't know what the facts are, but if a person goes back at the end of his lifetime back to Godhead without developing any relationship with Krishna whatsoever, and he does go to Krishna Loka, would it only be in Shanta Rasa, because that doesn't require a relationship with Krishna?
That's a good point. That's Shanta Rasa, yeah.
Like a grain of sand and an endless supply of sand in Krishna Loka. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a, but it's definitely not the same as giving milk to Krishna as his mother or playing with Krishna in the fields. When they play in the fields, they're stepping on the sand, and you might be one of those little particles yourself.
Yes.
It's not an impersonal rasa because you're conscious of Krishna, but it is not the same thing as a kinetic rasa with Krishna, where you're actively involved with Krishna. And we're not even going to gopis and Krishna.
That begs the question, does the living entity, I mean, take birth as a sand or a plant or something? I mean, it could be, but what's the
it depends on his relationship with Krishna when he dies, doesn't it?
Yes. I mean, obviously,
so what is his relationship with Krishna when he dies? I've been talking about Madhyamadikari entering your rasa with Krishna. I use the example of fanning Krishna. At first, he doesn't like it because I'm fanning as though I'm fanning his earthly deity, not the supreme being in his abode. So I'm fanning essentially transcendental life marble, not Krishna himself. But if Paramatma guides me sufficiently, I will end up fanning Krishna in Krishna Loka in a way that pleases him, because Paramatma will guide my hands holding the fan, how to fan him in a way that will please him. When he becomes totally pleased, he will, the perfection of being totally pleased is he'll want me near him in my swarup, not just on the darkness of fanning inside the dark covering called the Mahatattva. Does that make sense?
Yes. So
Okay, so if you want to have a personal relationship with Krishna that is like Calvert friend, Vatsalya Ras,
yes,
or any other Ras, you have to perfect that before you go to Krishna Loka, because you can as a Madhyamadikari. That's the point of the Madhyamadikari. Is the point of becoming a Madhyamadikari is to be able to perfect your rasa with Krishna in a way that it's a person-to-person rasa, not just a pebble to Krishna's lotus foot rasa. Does that make sense?
yes. So you're saying the Madhyamadikari can develop that relationship with Krishna.
The Madhyamadikari can develop
Yes, one of these four primary rasas, Santa Rasa or Dasya.
Well, that's why he's a
Vatsalya,
Madhyamadikari.
Madhurya.
Otherwise, why does he even need to bother?
Right.
He could just die and scream Narayan on his deathbed and go, and the Narayana Dutas will pick him up and take him to Vaikuntha, not to Krishna Loka.
Well, I mean, you look at Ajamil's life, when Ajamil screamed for his son, Narayan, what was his name, Narayan? Or something like that, right?
Narayan.
Yeah. So he did not go to the spiritual world. The Yamadutas came and gave him some more lifetime, some more life in that body to repent. So it didn't.
Oh, wait, I thought the Narayana Dutas took him.
No. Oh, what's the pastime? Can anyone does anyone know? Ajamil doesn't go directly to the spiritual world. He
Yes.
How do you know? Where
does he go?
As far as
Yeah,
I know,
there's
he went to Vishnu Loka.
Yeah, there was confrontation at his body, right?
Yeah, there was confrontation, but wasn't he allowed to stay in the body and then give up his sinful habits?
Died.
Oh, he died.
Yeah,
okay.
This whole thing took place as he was dying.
As he was dying, right? So he immediately went back.
Breath, he screamed with his last breath, Narayan! Like that. And the Yamadutas were coming, certain that they had him ready to tie up in ropes and drag to the court of Yamaraj. But when he cried out Narayan, even not intending to call for Vishnu, the Narayana Dutas, who are the servants of Vishnu, came and picked him up. Isn't that the way the story goes? That's the way I understood it to go.
I don't know. I'm not. I was speculating, I guess.
But I know that
I don't know. I mean, I've performed that play many times in temples.
So that is the story.
I would be totally horrified or mortified if I were to learn that I was doing it wrong all that time.
I guess I'm mixing it up. Yeah.
There's another counterpoint to the argument that was brought here, and it's that the more we feel we deserve liberation, the closer to the back of the line we are.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, well, that's pumped up.
The gopis don't take that. The gopis are liberated, and they don't take that point of view.
Yes.
And Lord Chaitanya said, I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord, 10,000 times the servant of the Lord. So whoever thinks he's at the front of the line is not a liberated soul. If you want to get to the front of the line, and then you want to go to Krishna Loka, you would be in a position to say to Krishna, move over. I'm at the front of the line, not you. Right? I mean, if you're at the front of the line, then you're Krishna. Otherwise, we're the opposite of the front of the line. We're the servant of the servant of the servant.
Right.
What I'm beginning to understand or calculate is all or most of us have had some prior experience with Krishna consciousness. But I'm beginning to realize that whatever was taught, even if we lived in temples, was not enough to make us independently devotees. So we are patchy when it comes to being a devotee. And my goal, my objective is, I don't want to be patchy. I want to be consistent. I want to be Atma Rama, or the liberated soul. And I'm requesting each of us, you and I and everybody on this Zoom call, we should also become liberated souls.
Joy.
Not trying to deal with stuff we've heard about Krishna. If you hear something about anybody, you're out of the loop, aren't you? Because about is the loop. About and around and around. That means you're out of the loop. But if you say, I want to serve Krishna myself, then we have the option, because that's Krishna will welcome it. He'll never force us to serve him. He'll never. Krishna is busy doing things. The only part of Krishna that isn't busy doing anything except relating to us is Paramatma. Paramatma is in our heart. And he's there in order to make sure that Krishna is satisfied, even though the part of Krishna that is satisfied, he's making sure is satisfied, is 1/10,000th the tip of a human hair, or essentially infinitesimal. Hard to understand that Krishna takes the trouble to be an individual Paramatma in the heart of every living entity, and I don't mean just humans. How about germs? How about bugs? How about snails? Dogs, cats, birds, insects, plants. If Krishna is present, if the jiva is part and parcel of Krishna, and if the jiva is present in a plant, in the root, is where the jivas are in plants. If the jiva is in the plant, in the root of the plant, that means Paramatma is in the root of the plant with the jiva. No? Is there such a thing of a jiva existing without Paramatma?
No.
Yes.
Until the 7th century, the Catholic Church did not reject the idea that animals had souls.
Oh. Good.
But then it became such a nightmare of debate that finally the Pope decreed that animals do not have souls. And so we grew up in this present life basically believing that animals don't have souls. The animals are simply there to serve as food for humans, even though the book of Genesis clearly says that the herbs of the earth and the, essentially vegetables will be as meat for you. But using the language of King James's era in history, meat did not mean flesh. Meat meant food. End of story.
Meat means that.
I'm sorry?
I said that makes sense. Meat means food.
Yeah.
Food means flesh.
So here we are now struggling with something that seems to be an insuperable thing to deal with for some reason. I have a hard time not knowing why. And that is, if you are a jiva and you are in a body and you're gradually losing the bodily consciousness and returning to your Krishna consciousness as a jiva, how long will it take before you traverse the things that will distract you and interest you as a Kinistadikari to become seriously engaged as a Madhyamadikari? And you said, 6, 7, 8 births, something like that. Right, Ramachandra, you still there?
Yes, 6, 7, 8 what?
Lives.
Lives, okay, right.
So how many lives totally to go from wherever a person is right now as a Kanistadikari, and we're all on different levels of Kanistadikari, maybe not by much difference, but no two people are on the same level of anything. We're all individuals.
Right. Look at the karma.
There's no way to generalize.
Yes.
You can generalize by body, but you can't generalize by jiva. Like if you have a well-trained army, they march along, you can't tell one of the soldiers from the other as they march with their arms out and hats on a certain way. You can't tell.
Right.
But if you look at each individual person, soldier, you'll find they're completely different. One's a farmer, one's an auto mechanic, they're all sorts of people.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what I've been kind of thinking about, that these Kanishta initiators, they're initiating all these so-called wonderful devotees. They these nice, living entities. They are probably at the same level. That's why
they couldn't. Nobody is on the same level.
I mean, not the same level, but how can you say this?
Well, they're all Kanistadikaris, but supposing there's 20,000 different grades of Kanistadikari, or 100,000, or even,
yes,
a million different degrees.
Right.
Each one is at a slightly different degree of self-realization, right? None of them are exactly the
but
same.
The general ethos is, more or less kind of the same. Or
what?
Otherwise, they wouldn't be in a pack together. You know what I'm saying?
No, if you're
just
in the army
like this,
and you're marching, you look like you're the same as every other soldier marching, right? But take off your clothes, you'll see that people are totally different.
Yes.
One is fat, one is hairy, one is this, one is that,
Yeah, we can.
So nobody's on the same. Kanistadikari isn't one category, it's a range. It goes all the way from dragging it off the sidewalk with long hair and a pocket full of marijuana joints.
Let's take an example.
Becoming a Brahmin. What?
So let's take an example for case. We have many initiators in ISKCON that think alike. That that we are gurus, we are Prabhupada's disciples. We can initiate. They read the same books and they have the same conclusion.
But are they the same level of realization, each and every one?
Well, more or less, because they're thinking in the same lines. I mean, if you ask Vaisheshika, what makes you being a guru, is probably be the same thing as you ask Pandit Narayan
that's in general, yes, generally.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. In general,
like
they are
a brahmachari. Okay, can you say because brahmacharis wear saffron cloth, all brahmacharis are basically the same?
No, but
each one is an individual person.
Yeah, but if they hang out together, their consciousness will be
more similar than if they didn't hang out together.
Yes, yes, exactly.
But
that's what
never the same.
Of course, not the same.
Unless we are racists or something and say all black people are like that.
No, yeah.
No, each black person is an individual person.
Right.
Each Asian person is an individual person. And they have an individual point of view, consciousness, thoughts, hopes, feelings, desires. Even though they may seem the same if you look at the yellow skin or the black skin. Right?
Right.
No, we can't, if we generalize about people, then we're taking away the one thing which they have that is valuable. And that is that.
But in some ways, you cannot deny it. There are some general things which are there. I mean,
yeah,
why are we?
What that thing is, and no one can deny it. You look at any living being, and you can say that is a jiva, not a body. Right?
Yes.
So are you mistaken if you call them, all the brahmacharis jivas?
No.
Does that mean that they're all identical in eternity?
Yeah. On the jiva level, they're identical. Yes.
They are? You mean they all have the same exact rasa with Krishna? Like
no, I'm saying you can classify them as a jiva.
A jiva is part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is an individual. Each jiva is also an individual.
Yes.
No?
Yes.
What part of each jiva not being an individual is not true?
I'm not talking about that individual. I'm talking about the doctrinal. They are in the same, not the same, but they share many similar belief systems. That I gave an example of the Kanishta initiators. They all have the same belief system. Now you can say they're different if you microscopically say yes.
Microscopically, they're fighting with each other all the time.
Yeah. So
they're not fighting because of their similarity. They're fighting because of their differences.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Since everyone is qualitatively one with Krishna, does that mean that everyone's spiritual body is a, for lack of a better term, human form? Like 2 arms, 2 legs?
Yeah, that's a good question.
In Krishna Loka? No, there's all
you
sorts
talk
of
about people now
in
here.
Loka. You could be a stone, Chintamani stone. You could be a Kalpavitra tree. You can be a dog or a cat.
So that means
you can
that
be a cow. You can be a gopi. You can be a cowherd boy.
Within an associate's body, you could be there. There would be like a chair sitting next to Paramatma, like or like a rock or something in their heart, and that's them.
In Krishna Loka. You're talking about you're in Krishna Loka.
That's a good one.
And you are a rock.
I'm asking about like their spiritual form as they're in a material body. Like it's not that
the material body could be anything. The material body is like silly putty. You can shape it. You stretch it into whatever shape your desire wants it to be.
The spiritual
and your desire depends on how attached you are to your silly putty body. And each birth you take a different body.
The Atma, not the material body. Like, could there be the
jiva is not involved. The jiva is conscious and the body is conscious because the jiva is conscious. But the jiva is so bewildered that he thinks that he is his body. That's what we have to say. I'm not my body, I'm spirit soul. We have to distinguish that.
What I want to understand is that
which spirit soul, there's no way to calculate.
Are there fallen conditioned souls that they have that eternal relationship with Krishna that's unchanged, whether they when they fall, right? So does that mean that in some material bodies there are rocks that's a person?
Well, no, because those things have been renounced when you leave Krishna Loka. It's like if you're court-martialed in the army and they kick you out, you don't wear a uniform anymore. You can go to the Salvation Army and get whatever clothes you like, that were worn by other people.
So what you're saying is that the Atma has kind of like a Brahmajyoti kind of nature, in that it's not.
Well, Brahmajyoti is pretty expansive. The jiva is infinitesimal. It's like a theoretical point.
Okay, so
jiva in the material world, the jiva is non-dimensional.
Okay. Yeah, because
stop to think of it. Infinitesimal means non-dimensional. Krishna is infinite, the jiva is infinitesimal. That means that all of us, including the ones in Krishna Loka and on all the other universes and planets and everywhere, can easily fit inside of Krishna, because he's infinite. Means that there's plenty of room, and we're infinitesimal, means that there's room for all of us, no matter how many of us there might be.
So our Swarup, is it already determined?
That is an interesting question. Obviously, when we were back before we fell from the spiritual sky, which we did, the proof of it is here we are. Before we fell from the spiritual sky, we had a Swarup. Whether or not we have that same Swarup when we go back to the spiritual sky, I don't know. I would say if your Swarup is eternal, I don't know, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, you're right.
The reason why it doesn't matter is once you've redeveloped your relationship with Krishna, it either will or will not be similar or identical to a relationship you had with Krishna before.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the Sri Sri Shikshastakam, that Krishna, whether he treats us and breaks our heart by not being in our association.
Yeah. But it's like you and me. Here we are talking, we can see each other. Supposing we had met each other 10 years ago, it would be different, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's different in the spiritual sky or not. If your Swarup, when you go back to God, it is the same Swarup as you had when you left. My hunch is it wouldn't be identical, because the Swarup you had when you left was capable of falling down. And the one you have when you're going back will not be falling down. So whatever flaw was in that Swarup would be cured by your return, which means probably you'd have a different way of relating to Krishna. It means you also would have a different way of appearing. Personality difference. Remember, everything in the spiritual sky is self-created.
Srila Prabhupada's book, The Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, it kind of makes it look like everyone has Madhya Leela.
Meaning?
Pardon me, Madhurya.
Madhurya Leela is gopis.
Yeah.
No, there's 4 rasas, 4 levels of rasa. Only one of them is Madhurya.
Yeah, but the way he words the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and pardon me if I've read some altered version of it, but it seems in the
You mean not Prabhupada's books?
I'll have to check it, but
I would, because It's very
Okay.
easy for people to make up rasas, particularly when it comes to Madhurya Lila.
Okay, because if you're saying not established, it kind of seemed a little ambiguous to me, but I just might not have the ability to grasp.
Tell me, what's the ambiguous part?
It just the way that it is worded, it just makes it kind of seem like everyone goes to Madhurya Ras, but
No.
no.
You better check your book.
Yeah.
If it's Prabhupada's book, then I want to know about it. If it's not Prabhupada's book, the Sahajas are totally into Madhurya Ras. Let's put it this way. If you go back to Krishna Loka, if you're reading about Krishna's pastimes in Krishna Loka with gopis, and if you get a hard-on, an erection, then you're not qualified to read them.
Pardon, what was that disqualifies?
What? No, if you are sexually aroused by reading about Krishna's activities with the gopis, then you're not qualified to read them.
Right.
You go down a few notches and read about Krishna stealing butter and giving it to monkeys. Same Krishna. But people like to jump over to the 10th canto and imagine that they're in a Madhurya Ras with Krishna. But that's the worst imaginable offense.
Okay, I'll have to check that verse that
check it out and get back to us.
Okay, it's in his book, The Teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Prabhupada's book?
Yes.
That everyone becomes into Madhurya Rasa and it comes back to Godhead?
I might have interpreted it the wrong way, but
why not reread it and give us what you feel it says?
Yeah, it's that same verse. It's in the same area as that verse that I referred to earlier. That it is the factual fate of all fallen conditioned souls to be in the service of Krishna, and I mean
in the service of Krishna, but there are 4 rasas.
Yeah, and the fifth one being
and bunches of sub rasas.
Yes, so that's what I was gonna agree with. Yes.
Yeah. But if you become a Madhyamadikari, the outcome is very unlikely. It would be very unlikely that the outcome when you become an Uttamadikari is that you would be a stone.
Yeah, that's
the whole point is relationship.
If there's any material attachment, then there's
Then
no
you won't
chance.
go back to Godhead.
There's no chance of any of those processes. Yeah.
Yeah, no one can go back to Godhead if he has the slightest material desire.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like mostly. No, it's 100%. You have to be not only 100% free from material desire, but at the same time, you have to be able to interact with Krishna. Rasa means relishable relationship. We learn about relishable relationships in our bodies with the opposite sex and stuff like that. We can feel that rasas, but that's not the same thing. That's completely illusory.
Yeah.
One pus, blood, stool, and urine cadaver, pre-cadaver, is now attracted to another pus, blood, stool, and urine pre-cadaver, and they think that is transcendental love or divine love between us. Why do we say? Because we know that such things exist, and we want them to exist in our lifetime on earth, but they don't. It is only an illusion called Maya that makes the men and women attracted to each other. It gets even worse. Men become attracted to men and women become attracted to women. All of that is just theme and variation of uselessness, you know. The actual fact is, if you want to be attracted to Krishna, then you need to become It could be. But that's not what people are thinking. But that's not all the rasas. I mean, I keep using the example of fanning Krishna. You know, the Madhyamadikari is in a dark place. The Prabhupada compares to a coconut shell. You know, that you're inside the coconut shell. You're not stuck to it. Like when you take a dry coconut, you can shake the outer casing and you can hear the white part rattling around inside, right?
Yeah.
So if you have that experience, so with that, you're like separate from the material energy as a Madhyamadikari, but you're not free from it, because even if the coconut can be rattled around, it's not outside of the husk. And Prabhupada says that when a perfect person becomes perfected by doing his work on the inside of the coconut shell, and yet Krishna feels it externally outside of the coconut shell, if Krishna becomes totally pleased, Prabhupada said, then the curtain of Maya rolls up. You come under the protection of Yoga Maya, which means you're only aware of your rasa with Krishna, and you can see Krishna face to face. This is what I learned. Is Shreya still with us? You know?
Hare Krishna, I saw she left.
She's not
Again?
here anymore. No. I think she said she had some battery problems with the phone or something.
Oh, I see. So Ramachandra Prabhu, can you suggest to anyone that leaves that they announce that they're leaving when they leave?
Yeah, I can
Make
tell
it
them
right.
next time they come. Yes.
Yeah. And why not put that as part of the invitation?
Yes, I'll send that out to the devotees.
And when they come on, they should say hello or Hari Bol or something of that sort. And when they leave, they should say, Jai Shri Krishna, I'm leaving. Like something like that. You know?
Yeah. Right.
So does that sorting this out? Is there anything, Ramachandra, that this sorts out for you?
Sorts out for me.
Yeah, in terms of understanding what it is to transform from a Madhyamadikari, which means a purified, a progressively purified person in a material body, to a Madhyamadikari, where you shed your purified and unpurified body, and you have to be pretty damn pure to become a Madhyamadikari, and you relinquish your material body, gradually replacing it with a spiritual form,
right,
which is just suitable for your relationship with Krishna. So if you're fanning Krishna, which is it's an easy example to deal with, when Krishna stops being annoyed by your, and Paramatma guides you how to fan him in a way that will please him, and Paramatma knows because he is Krishna himself, and you fan Krishna like that, and Krishna becomes intoxicated by the pleasure of your fanning him to the degree that he wants to see you face to face, then the curtain of Maya, which is coconut shell, rolls up. He said, and then you come Yoga Maya, which isolates you with your rasa with Krishna, and then you can see Krishna face to face. Those are the exact words that Srila Prabhupada told me.
Right. All right then.
So who's still with us?
I'm here, Andrew Ananda Prabhu, Mark Yakan, Matthew Prabhu, Ananda, Dev Prabhu.
Ananda?
Yes.
Who's
Andrew Ananda. Andrew Prabhu.
Mahana.
Andrew Ananda Prabhu.
Oh, Andrew Ananda. Okay.
Yeah.
Haribo.
Josh.
Okay, then, Narayan Prabhus.
Have we completed for now? Is there anything else to discuss?
Nothing, just washing my clothes.
Well, we have only 3 days a week that we're having the conference. Isn't it possible to arrange all the things that we would be doing to not land on those 3 days, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays?
Yeah.
Because otherwise it turns into a nightmare. We lost Banu again, probably maybe permanently this time, because you weren't there. And I made it so clear last night that I didn't want to explain things to Banu. I wanted you to explain them to Banu. In fact, I called you today for that effect. But
I mean,
today you didn't mention that you weren't going to be in the Zoom call yourself.
Well, Banu,
I would never have talked to Banu if I knew you weren't present on the Zoom call.
You would never talk to Banu?
I would not talk to Banu without you being on the Zoom call, because it is my intention that you should be the one to talk to Banu.
Okay.
And if you want to ask me a question, I will answer you, not Banu. Then you can answer Banu. I don't want to talk directly with Banu because he has it all figured out that I'm a liar, a cheater, and all sorts of things like that. He has a totally bizarre outlook, and I can't even understand what he's coming from. So I have to depend on you if I talk to Banu, but I'd rather not. You know everything as well as I do. So why don't you talk to Banu? Why should I?
Yes, I don't talk to Banu. Banu talks to me.
Well, Banu talk to you.
Yes, so I'll see what comes up with this.
What is Banu's issue?
Well, I think you guys really talked, or you guys had a discussion about it. And
so what is it? I didn't have any discussion about it because I never understood what he was talking about.
Okay.
No, Shreya did quite well. She tried to sort him out a bit. I thought she did it very intelligently. But the question is, where is Banu coming from?
Is it from Srila Prabhupada telling us why wait another lifetime when you can go back to Godhead in this lifetime?
Yeah, Banu uses that point all the time.
Yeah,
Prabhupada has said.
Does he think that I object to that idea?
Haribo, I think that he has initially when you were saying this, describing this idea of staying for, the remainder of the 10,000 years to help bring all the fallen conditioned souls. One of my first questions was like, why not 1 or 2, 3 lifetimes, and then later on, as you went on describing, well, just listen. As you went on describing later on, I started understanding the mood of Lord Chaitanya. Is like, well, once we have established Uttama Adhikari in our hearts, then we will not feel that separation from Krishna, like in the same way, And so,
so it doesn't matter where we are.
Yeah, with us carrying Goloka in our hearts, then we are like empowered and fortified to carry on for the next 9,500 years. If Krishna wants,
remember, yes, and that's exactly perfect understanding. Perfect.
That's what I tried to explain to him that earlier on. That I held a similar point of view as him, but then as I understood the mood of Lord Chaitanya, then I began to understand what you were trying to convey.
Yeah, I'm not trying to do anything against Lord Chaitanya. Quite the opposite. I just see an inevitability that since we got the holy name from Lord Chaitanya, since we are not going to make any spiritual advancement if we are born on a different planet next lifetime, because Lord Chaitanya rarely appears at all. He happened to appear on this planet. That's very lucky for us. You know, I mean, how much more lucky could it get? Fortunate could it be? So here we are, only 500 years from Lord Chaitanya. And the question is, are we going to share his message, or are we going to keep it to ourselves and try to escape from this planet as quickly as we can without sharing it? But he said, wherever you go, whenever you meet, simply speak of Krishna. It doesn't sound as though he would be enthusiastic about us wanting to escape, more than he would be enthusiastic of us wanting to, you know, let Krishna play with gopis and let me stay here and serve him.
We
Why
also
not?
have Srila Prabhupada's example on this topic, and it's that Srila Prabhupada was ordered not to go to Calcutta. And the saying is that when Srila Prabhupada went to Calcutta, he never left Vrindavan.
I don't understand what you're saying. Prabhupada was born in Calcutta.
And he was ordered not to go there, correct?
I don't know. I never heard that before. By whom? By his guru?
I believe so, yeah.
Well, his guru was in Navadvip, in Mayapur. There's just a short train ride to Calcutta from Mayapur to Calcutta. So I don't know. I've never heard that before.
Hmm.
Why did he say not to go to Calcutta?
That it was a hellish condition there or something?
Well, it couldn't have been too hellish. It produced Prabhupada.
I agree with you.
Yeah, no, it's not hellish. Actually, Calcutta was very nice. When I was there in 1972, and various times afterwards, first time in 72, it was nice.
Hmm.
We were walking distance to an amazingly first-class sweet shop called Gangaram and Grandsons. So it couldn't be that bad. I don't know. I never heard that before. If you could put it into context, I'd love to know.
I think, but yeah, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's spiritual master, Gorkishore Das Babaji, was not too fond of, cities, cities and all these crazy places.
Who's talking?
Ramachandra.
So what are you actually saying?
That he was not so keen in visiting cities because he knew
Who's he?
Gorkishore Das Babaji. He was not too concerned about the cities because he saw the cities were hellish.
He wasn't concerned with anything.
Yeah. So why would someone go to a place where there's so much?
Prabhupada never met Gorkishore Das Babaji. Did he?
No, but Prabhupada was
that was his grand disciple. I mean, as his grand Guru Maharaj.
Who did Gorkishore tell not to go to Calcutta? Bhaktisiddhanta?
Yeah, Bhaktisiddhanta.
Everyone says Prabhupada.
It might be there in Prabhupada's books, so I'll have to search. So I'll find out.
Yeah, why not find out? But it's sort of not very relevant, is it? Because Prabhupada not only went to Calcutta, he created fantastic festivals there in Charangi Park.
Yeah, that's the whole point about no matter where the material body is, a pure devotee is always in Mayapur and Vrindavan.
Yeah, and that also indicates that Prabhupada didn't really have a material body. He just seemed to have a material body.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I was speaking on lack of a better term. Yes, his spiritual body.
Yeah. I was riding in a back of a Volkswagen. Prabhupada was in the passenger seat of the Volkswagen Bug. I was sitting right behind him, and I was watching him. Every time I was in the car like that, I would watch him incessantly. And the thing which I noticed was he changed his, if you looked at him enough, he changed his appearance every nanosecond, from big to small, to this, to that, to this color, to that color, to this age, to that age. He was completely transforming at all times. But it was easy just to package him as Prabhupada, you know. Oh, there's a picture of Prabhupada. Oh, yeah, I saw Prabhupada. Oh, yeah, I met Prabhupada. Prabhupada. But what they're looking at is your perception of Prabhupada, not who he actually was. If you could see him for who he actually was, you'd faint. He was not a human being. At least not in the way we normally consider people to be human beings. We've been conditioned by these successor initiators, Kanista initiators.
Right.
And if you stop to think of it, if you saw Prabhupada, I saw him in some circumstances which beyond blew my mind. Or I saw him without his regular body at all, but as a completely different being.
Okay, then I think
Just for
we'll end
a
it.
few minutes. You're going to end it. You just got here.
Well, I can go on, but I think we should. I'll talk to Bhanu and try to figure things out. Let's see what happens. Everything happens for the
Okay,
good.
can you convince Bhanu that I'm not trying to get him to stay here for 10,000 years?
Okay.
Could you also convince him I'm not even trying to get him to stay here for 9,450 years?
Okay.
I'm not trying to get him to stay here at all.
Right.
Somehow he was, we should try to wind this up, actually, this point. He was saying that each birth is different. He was trying to force me to agree with his view that if we start out with 1,000 people in this lifetime, in the next lifetime, the League for 10,000 years will be reduced to only 100 people, and after that down to 10 people. I don't know how he came up with that idea or what he was talking about. Did you hear any of that, Ramachandra?
Yes, I heard that. Yes.
So what was he talking about?
I'll clarify with him.
No,
tomorrow.
you tell me what you got. You know about him. I don't. What was he talking about, in your opinion?
Well, Bhanu talks about different things from I mean, we have discussed that. Prabhupada said, why not go back?
I'm not talking about different things. I'm talking about this thing. What was he talking about?
No idea.
Is it possible he's talking about a jiva's ability to remember?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think he was assuming that if you leave your body at the end of this body, you'll never see more than a few people that you saw in this lifetime ever again.
He's saying that there's no guarantee that we're all going to appear together again, all at once.
Okay.
And, using that as a premise to not want to take up this mission. I didn't quite understand how he got he put those two ideas together.
Yeah, that's pretty much. I agree. That's Bhaktiananda, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's him.
Yeah, that's sort of what I got. But the fact is, just look at the odds, the algorithms involved. what are the chances that we would not take birth as a clump, birth after birth? Everything we want is in our clump.
Who's to say that
Meaning
we
devotees
together?
of Krishna. We're worried about ISKCON and what are they doing? What about when they all die? What are they going to do? Will they not take birth in each other's association once again? Why would
Well,
they
they're
take
taking.
birth? Where
They're
would
already
they take
taking birth. They're
Huh?
already taking birth in their association already. So that's what I was saying.
Oh, the ISKCON members are already have taken birth in each other's association?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's a brilliant
That's what I meant.
insight.
That's what I was trying to say. That was what I'm trying to say. That's why these people are bunched together, clumped together in that way.
Because they're already a clump.
Our elders and child bodies.
Yes. Now that's my point that I was trying to
I
make.
think it's more productive for us to think we've all known each other in previous lives. That's why we're talking today now.
I was just thinking, like, who's to say that we all didn't appear together before and, like, you know, make the same vow, like, hey, you know, maybe we should appear with the acharya who's going to propagate Krishna consciousness all around the world, you know?
Well, Lord Chaitanya is that. We're appearing as offshoots of Lord Chaitanya, but we're also offshoots of Srila Prabhupada. He's not likely to reappear in the next 9,450 years. He's not likely to reappear. So if he doesn't reappear, what do we lose? Really, we don't lose anything because we have books which we can make original books again. We have kirtan, which we can listen to Prabhupada and learn how to chant, not like Bollywood. We have Nardanga beats, we have deities, we have temples, we have prasadam. All we have to do is perfect what he gave us already. We don't have to have another acharya come in and say, you naughty boys, let me spank you each one.
Bhanu's idea is that another acharya also has to come. He said they have to come and fix the whole situation. That is one of Bhanu's understanding, that if acharya comes.
Are you back in your house yet, Ramachandra?
Yes, I am back in my house.
Can you divest us? Yeah, finally. Can you get rid of that damn picture?
Oh, it's too real, huh? I'm just kidding.
No, it's too unreal.
That's why you should know it's not me. Anyways,
it doesn't look like anybody.
I was going to say that is also Bhanu Prabhu's understanding, that there is an acharya has to come.
Why?
To fix things, or to get people on their side.
You can ask Bhanu, oh, you want an acharya to come to change your dirty diaper, don't you?
Right.
I have a question.
Why should an acharya come to change his diaper? Why can't he change his own damn diaper?
Hey,
that picture's back again.
Oh yeah, I'll have to change the diaper on that picture. Okay, I'm back.
You know, whatever. Now the picture doesn't work for us.
Okay, I'll change the picture. I'll change the picture.
No, change it to you.
Okay.
Feeling willing, not simply oppose. We want to see you, not something weird.
Andrew Ananda Prabhu had a question, or he wanted to say something.
You okay?
Okay, well, it's kind of a really complex subject matter, but it's very extensive. But nowhere, I guess in the Shastras, it doesn't describe that Guru can create this system that Prabhupada has, you know, established, what they refer to as Ritvik.
They said they have not established that. Ritvik comes from Shastra. The word Ritvik is Shastric word.
Is it?
A Ritvik simply means a person who's doing the fire sacrifice in behalf of the guru.
I was under the impression that Ritvik was like a word that was actually kind
Invented?
of recently implemented.
No, not really. I mean, recently meaning in this yuga.
Why I guess, okay, if I was somebody coming, I had a doubt saying like, why, if I want to take shelter of Prabhupada, why not take shelter of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati or Rupa Goswami for that matter?
We are taking shelter of them, but we don't jump over the acharya. You look at them. Can you see them? They're like a lens, they're like a telescope with many lenses. We have them coming down from Lord Chaitanya. Let's just deal with Lord Chaitanya, then Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, Bhakti Siddhanta, and Prabhupada. They're aligned. We access all of them through Prabhupada. We don't jump over Prabhupada to access them from some other source. You can't do that. Once you've accepted the guru in the line, you don't jump over him. And that's why it's so ridiculous that these initiators want to be the next acharyas, and all they do is they're like, instead of being clear lenses, they're like opaque or translucent only. So they actually cloud the issue, they don't illuminate it. But anyhow, are we okay?
Yeah, I guess.
Why jump over? Prabhupada made it very clear that we can't jump over.
I think that answers that question.
Yeah, he was not even eager for us to read the previous acharya's books.
Say again? What was that?
Okay. So back to the Bhanu issue.
Yes, Bhanu issue.
Yeah. How do we distinguish that what our next birth is likely to be, assuming we take a human birth?
I thought it was described by Srila Prabhupada that the different adhikaris, and it's about how we view others is
and ourselves.
Yeah.
Aham Brahmasmi. Aham means I am Brahmasmi.
Yes.
When you get down to it, it doesn't even matter if you're the only person that knows you're not, that you're a part of, if you're the only person anywhere around that knows that you're part and parcel of God, that's fine. If you meet another person that knows he's part of, there's your picture again. If you meet another person that's part and parcel of God, then there's two of you. But the distinction is each individual, Prabhupada says, you can only fly your own airplane. You can't fly somebody else's airplane. You can't control anybody else. We're all flying individual airplanes. We can communicate airplane to airplane, but we cannot control airplane to airplane.
So
yes.
To answer your question, it reminds me of the verse that goes like, as you find fault in another or you find virtue in another, you will attain those qualities.
Well, of course, because you are what you, it's sort of like you are what you eat. If you like spicy food, then you become a spicy individual. If you like bland food, you become a bland individual.
So therefore,
if you criticize others or you like others, of course you become what you associate with.
the moment we get out of Kanishta Adhikari is when we see that Krishna is not limited to the deity on the altar. And then we get out of...
Well, we should know that anyhow, right?
Yeah, and then we get out of Madhya Adhikari when we admit that there is...
When you actually are seeing Krishna
beyond
face-to-face.
the communion, I mean, the congregation that attends the temple.
Madhya
and
Adhikari is a totally individual endeavor. It has nothing to do with temples.
I'm just referring to like the definition that I've read.
Madhya Adhikari, by definition, is a person who's shedding his Kanista Adhikari purified physical identity and exchanging it for a personality that is capable of being in Krishna's association in Krishna Loka. In other words, your rasa. It's a person developing their rasa with Krishna.
How do I find Srila Prabhupada's original books?
PrabhupadaBooks.com or Veda Guya has some books. VBT also has the Gitas. So
you can order if you want like hard copies. You can order from KrishnaStore.com, or if you just want to download, like you said, Prabhupada books, so you can go to KrishnaPath.org. Also, there's an app on Apple where you can download all of Prabhupada's books in one app.
Amazing.
What app?
Yeah. It's on
what?
It's on the iPad.
The goal of changing Prabhupada's books has evidently failed.
Right. They're always going to be there. It's just that this organization, the ISKCON organization, should be distributing. It shouldn't only be distributing the altered books if they're like really trying.
Yeah, but the point is they can do that as long as they like. It's like you can hold your breath as long as you want, but eventually you have to take another breath. They can try to change books as long as they like, but in the end they're going to have to give that up.
Yeah.
Ramachandra, what are you up to, Prabhu? Is that a picture also?
Yeah, this picture of me. Now you know who's me.
No more pictures. Just you. I'm not. Where's my picture? I don't have one.
I'm looking at your picture right now, with the hand on the head.
Can we confirm that?
It's a cartoon because I can move my hand in the picture. So if you want to not have yourself present, why not do what Banu does? Put up a deity or something of that sort.
Okay, all right. I think that will be better.
When I thought I was talking to you, I'm talking to this unmoving face that looks as though the lips are slightly moving sometimes. And then I realized you're not even anywhere around.
How about this one?
Stuck with Banu, and I didn't know I was going to be stuck with Banu. I didn't know you were going to be going anywhere.
Okay. All right. So I think
this is a famous picture. Okay, yeah. But what have we resolved? So the thing to resolve is, in the status of Madhya Adhikari, you are shedding your material identity as a Kanista Adhikari, right? Are you understanding this, Ramachandra? You shed your identity as a Kanista Adhikari, and then you are obtaining your identity as you will be when you are with Krishna in Krishna Loka. We keep thinking that I, in this body, am going to go to Krishna Loka, and then put up a chair and sit down and watch the fun. like a tourist or
No
like a
fun, huh?
spectator in a movie theater or something.
Hmm.
But that's not the way it is. You can't go to Krishna Loka unless you have a relationship with Krishna. And you can't have a relationship with Krishna if you don't have a Swarup. So how do you get your Swarup? That's in the Madhya Madhikari platform. As you develop your Swarup, that prepares you for being in Krishna Loka. But until your Swarup is perfectly pleasing to Krishna and Krishna is perfectly pleasing to you, the Krishna Maya will not roll up. It'll stay there until Krishna's pleased with you for what you're doing. We're all thinking, what is Krishna going to do? What is Krishna? Krishna's going to do whatever he pleases.
Right.
But we have to do what will please Krishna.
Hmm.
Not by rules and regulations and ritual, but have to please Krishna kinetically. Just like if you meet somebody, like if you meet a Queen Elizabeth and you think she's a photograph of Queen Elizabeth, then you treat her like the photograph of Queen Elizabeth. And she suddenly looks at you and said, what the heck are you doing? Why are you doing that? So we can't do that to Krishna. We can't idealize in our mind what Krishna looks like and then expect him to be like that. He is what he wants to be at the moment that he wants to be it. And if we want a relationship with Krishna, we have to be able to interface with Krishna as he is kinetically, not just structurally. It's not structural. I think people have this weird idea that Krishna is not really a person. What to speak of the Supreme Being. You think he's some sort of a doll or something like that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
You know, you're really reminding me of a really nice answer that I had to a question that I asked, and it was that why do we feed the sannyasis so sumptuously and nicely? Is it so that they have proper health and they maintain that important role that they have in society? And actually the answer I got was that the guru, it provides more than what the deity can in the way that they can critique our service. And so it's bringing it to the point in your conversation about just the point is that by pleasing Guru, we become pleasant to Krishna. And
well, if the Guru is an Uttama Adhikari, that's
I'm talking Guru like Prabhupada.
But that means Prabhupada, right?
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever met an Uttama Adhikari subsequent to Prabhupada?
Prabhupada saying that there is no bad guru. That's just not a guru.
Oh, right. If guru means, well, heavier in spiritual knowledge than you are, or than I am. Yeah, okay. That's good. So have we explored this? We still haven't fully analyzed Banu's strange view.
Well, let's not take it too far tonight. Let's take it one day at a time. Tomorrow I'll talk to him if he wants to talk. Then,
by the way, that Golden Gate Bridge is a famous picture that is used in my other lifetime activity of restoring my father's murals.
Okay, now you can remember me by this picture then. Is that okay?
What? No, I mean, this picture to me means art restoration at the University of California, San Francisco.
Sorry.
I feel like if Banu had heard the beginning of this conversation, he would not have made the misunderstanding of your viewpoint. And
well, I would like to not have to be the person to set him straight. If you can set him straight, that would be better, because he already has a chip on his shoulder making great assumptions about how I'm trying to force him to stay here for 10,000 years. And what I could say about that is, no, Banu, I'm not trying to keep you here for 10,000 years, just 9,450 years. No, I'm not trying to keep him here at all. What he missed out, we had this conversation quite concretely, and it actually created the very context for our Zoom calls. And that was that considering that considering it will take us a certain amount of time, the whole idea of the League of 10,000 Years is that considering it will take us a certain amount of time to become Uttamadhikaris, why don't we use that time connectedly to enlighten the people of this world? I don't find a bad part to that, but I don't think Banda would either if he understood the principle. If we're going to be here, why don't we preach? And as far as being here in a group, where else are we going to go? Are we going to go to the Buddhists? Where are we going to go? The Muslims? What other birth can we take? Go to a different planet? So that would be very unfortunate, because if we go to a different planet, then we lose our connection with Lord Chaitanya. He didn't go to a different planet, he came to this one. We are born on this planet to receive the holy name from him. This is a benediction on us that we were put in a position to hear from Lord Chaitanya and his successors, meaning Abdu Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
The more we make it sociological and political, the more it vanishes completely and ceases to have any relevance in any way whatsoever. It becomes a total waste of time.
Okay, so I'll end it here, Prabhu.
Because we make a mistake, we can correct the mistake.
I'll end it here. We'll start again on Wednesday.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, but with a different picture, eh?
Yes, different picture. Yes, different picture.
How are you up to pick one that's part of my material life? I don't know.
Very good.